Good evening. We are bringing a commentary of Belgium against Italy today from Euro 2020 quarter final. I'm your alternative host, Russ Vernon, alongside your alternative commentator, Matt Iles, and you are listening to the commentary of. Should be a very good game. This one today. We will hopefully be joining our Twitter viewers very, very soon, due to the last game just finishing and just the Michael and Lou just wrapping up the coverage there. We'll tell you how that went on very, very shortly. And going on to this evening's game, which we're fetching you on here, will be going live across on Twitch very, very shortly as well. We'll make sure you people over there want to join us, you can do. So we'll be going live across there very, very shortly. But here on the YouTube feeds right now, we're looking ahead to this game then, Matt. And first of all, before we get your thoughts on how you think the game's going to go, what are the two starting lineups, my friend?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, the Belgians have made one change to the side that beat Portugal on Sunday. Eden Hazard is not available to start, so he misses out, whilst Kevin De Bruyne has been past fit to start. So they line up with Thibaut Courtois in goal. It's the same back three of Alderweireld, Vermaelen, Vertonghen. The four of Meunier, Tielemans, Witsel, and Torgan Hazard, the match winner on Sunday night. Jeremy Doku, the young man, plays his couple for Stade Rennais in France, replaces Eden Hazard, who's not in the 23-man squad for tonight's game. Romelu Lukaku and Kevin De Bruyne, the subs. Thomas Kaminski in on the bench in place of Simon Mignolet, who, of course, is ruled out of the tournament due to injury. Matt Sells is the other goalkeeper. The outfielders, Dedrick Boyata, Jason Denayer, Leander Dendoncker, Yannick Carrasco, Dries Mertens, Nasser Chadli, Leandro Trossard, Dennis Pratt, Christian Benteke, and Michy Batshuayi. The Italians line up like this. They've made two changes to their team that beat Austria in extra time on Saturday night. Giorgio Chiellini, the captain, replaces Francisco Acerbi in the defence, and Federico Chiesa, who scored one of the two goals in extra time, comes in place of Domenico Berardi. So the Italians line up this: Gianluigi Donnarumma in goal. The back four: Di Lorenzo, Bonucci, Chiellini, and Leonardo Spinazzola. They line up with a three-man midfielder: Barella, Jorginho, Verratti. And then they see three up front of Chiesa, Immobile, and Lorenzo Insigne. The subs: Serugu, Mere, Emerson, Acerbi, Bastoni, Toloi, Locatelli, Matteo Pessina, Domenico Berardi, Brian Cristante, Federico Bernardeschi, and Andrea Bellotti. That is the two starting lineups. And substitutes. The referee, incidentally, is Slavko Vincic from Slovenia. Supporting him is Tomasz Klančnik, Andreas Kovacic, who are both from Slovenia. The fourth official is Fernando Rapalini, and the VAR is Bastian Dankert. Marco Fritz and Christian Gittelman are VAR 1 and 2, and the third VAR is Pavel Gil from Poland.
Yes, thank you very much then, Matt. We've just seen Switzerland go out to Spain on penalties, losing 3-1 on penalties after a 1-1 after extra time. Also after 90 minutes it was 1-1. But just on this one, Matt, do you think this one could go the distance and go all the way to penalties and maybe decided by spot kicks, or do you reckon it'll be done in 90 minutes tonight in this one?
Well, I mean, everybody thought Spain would probably wrap it up against Switzerland in 90 minutes, but it wasn't to be, was it? I mean, this is a close contest. It does have the real ingredients. You can really see it go in the distance for me. You can see it being settled in 90 minutes. But these two sides, two European elite nations, you'd have to say at the moment, the two form sides, I mean, they've won all four of their matches in the tournament. Prior to this, okay, the Italians did win it in extra time against Austria, but they've still looked impressive. Belgium have been very, very strong as well. So this is a really good encounter to really sort of whet the appetite this Friday night. But for me, I could, it's too close to call whether it be settled in 90 minutes or go the distance. And I feel that I could see both scenarios in my head when I've sort of been previewing this game and researching it, just thinking about what might happen. I really could see both situations come to the play this evening, Russ.
Yes, we could be in for a long night then, according to what Matt has just been saying there. Because could have it won in 90 minutes, could have it won in 120 minutes, could maybe won via the kicks from the penalty spot. And been a good match as so far in the tournament from Italy. They've produced some good football and managed to had to be forced to extra time against Austria. Do you think that could play a factor in how the Italians play tonight and how tired they potentially could be, Matt?
They could be tired. That is something I think you have to weigh up. I think obviously, Mancini did use his subs very, very well against Austria at Wembley on Saturday night. And of course, the travel aspect hasn't been too far. They've travelled from from Wembley to Munich for tonight. So, of course, that isn't a big deal. But of course, these players these days are well, recovered. The physio, the medical staff of the national team would certainly have done their bit to really keep the players in good check. And obviously the management side, Mancini would have to use all his experience of just sort of trying to let the players relax and, just get the tired legs out of their system. And I think for me, it won't really play a significant part for Italy, but, hopefully they'll be wanting to settle it in 90 minutes because it could, later on maybe in the game play a part.
Yes, and as Belgium made their way out after the following the officials out, and then Italy will be following them, it's time for me to hand over to your match commentator for this big game. Is Belgium against Italy in the company of Matt Isles.
Thank you very much, Russ. Well, this really is the pick of the bunch for the quarterfinals. Belgium and Italy have been impressive in this tournament so far. One will continue their journey beyond tonight, whilst the other one will fall at the last 8 stage. And that was where they both fell 5 years ago. Italy to Germany on penalties, Belgium to Wales in what was one of the shock results of the 21st century in the European Championships. And this one is a much closer affair to call. And of course, we saw real drama in the first quarterfinal. What will the second one bring us as the two sides now sing for the national anthems? Well, Roberto Martinez all masked up for Belgium. The coach of the Belgian national team did get the better of Mancini in their last meeting 8 years ago in the FA Cup final when Wigan beat Manchester City. He's at Wembley. He's hoping that he can take Belgium to a European Championship semi-final for the first time since 1980. And of course, they have to be careful with the fact that three of their players, in Torgan Hazard, Thomas Vermaelen, and Toby Alderweireld, are all on one yellow card. And should they get another one, they will be missing the semi-final. And they'll be hoping that the thin ice that they find themselves on will be something they'd have to worry about beyond tonight, should they, of course, progress. I'll just go through the two lineups. Belgium are Thibaut Courtois in goal, Alderweireld, Vermaelen, Vertonghen in the back three, as it was on Sunday. It's the same in the midfield. Meunier at right wing back, Tielemans, Witsel in central midfield, match winner Torgan Hazard on the left wing. There is a change. Eden Hazard, who hobbled off in the game in Seville, is out. And Jeremy Doku comes in, Lukaku up front, De Bruyne is on the left wing. He is still deputising, despite, of course, him coming off fairly early in the second half. Kaminski, Sales, Boyata, Denayer, Carrasco, Mertens, Chadley, Dendoncker, Trossard, Pratt, Benteke, Batshuayi, the subs for the Italians. They've got three players on one yellow cards, Barella, Di Lorenzo and Pessina, all on bookings. They line up with two changes in their team, and two of those players on bookings do find themselves starting. It's Donnarumma in goal, Di Lorenzo, Bonucci, Chiellini comes in place of Francisco Acerbi as at centre-back, with Leonardo Spinazzola at left-back. Three in midfield, Barella, who's also on a yellow card, is in the midfield alongside Jorginho and Verratti, with the three up front. Chiesa replaces Berardi following his goal in extra time against Austria at Wembley. Immobile and Insigne partner alongside the Juventus loanee. The subs Sarugu, Mere, Emerson, Acerbi, Bastoni, Toloi, Locatelli, Pessina, Berardi, Cristante, Bernardeschi and Bellotti. We are ready to go in Munich, which is a fairly mild evening. The temperature has dropped, but the stakes in these European Championships and the importance has just risen just a few notches. Belgium and Italy have been pretty immense so far in the tournament. You could probably say the two best sides, but they come together and what we hope will be an exciting quarter-final clash. But before the game starts, both sets of players take the knee in the fight against racism, with Romelu Lukaku taking the knee for Belgium as he's about to kick off, with the Italians following suit, as well as the Belgian players and staff. It's Belgium who get us underway. It's Lukaku gives it to Witsel as Belgium go from right to left. They're in all red. The Italians in all white. They did wear a white shirt the last time they played in that Euro 2016 group stage match, where the Italians won 2-0 thanks to Emanuele Giaccarini and Graziano Pella scoring. Will history repeat itself in terms of the scoreline? But what will be different is the goal scorers, given the fact that they both aren't in the Azzurri fold this time round. Courtois with the kick out to the right-hand side. Meunier wins it. It's gone beyond Lukaku as his intended target. And then in the middle of the pitch, Jorginho heads it to Giorgio Chiellini. Fantastic to see him back. He missed the last two games with a hip flexor injury. Francisco Acerbi and Alessandro Bastoni played in his absence. Now De Bruyne through to Lukaku. Tries to get it onto his left foot, and he just got away from Chiellini. But Gianluigi Donnarumma in the opening 60 seconds came off his line quickly to dive down at the feet of Romelu Lukaku, a man that many of these Italian players will know, having faced him in the Italian top flight last season, given the fantastic goal scoring season he had for Inter Milan. Here is Leonardo Bonucci, who was part of the squad 5 years ago that beat Belgium. Jorginho with the ball forward, out to the right wing now with Chiesa. Gets it onto the right-hand side, inside the Belgian box. He goes for goal. Defending it well there was Torgan Hazard. And it has actually gone Belgium's way, as Chiesa, as he was lining the shot up, didn't get any of the ball, but caught Torgan Hazard's foot. We are 2 minutes in. It's Belgium 0, Italy 0. And Torgan Hazard just gets there first, doesn't he? A bit more switched on than Federico Chiesa. And then as Chiesa tries to take the swing to get the shot at Courtois' goal, he made a bit of a hash of it and actually instead kicked his man. Not the best pass back by The Italian right back Di Lorenzo, I think it was. It meant Donnarumma had to really do well to keep that in. And he lifted his leg up as high as he could. He had to stretch, but ultimately he has conceded a corner. So the Belgians immediately on the front foot at the Fußball Arena in Munich. Of course, due to UEFA sanctions, it means that it has to be changed from the Allianz Arena where Bayern Munich play. De Bruyne will take the corner from the left-hand side. In it goes, looking for Toby Alderweireld, headed away well by Leonardo Bonucci. And it's a Belgium throw on this Italian right-hand side. With De Bruyne going to take it. He has come through his injury, unlike his teammate Eden Hazard, who looks rather disappointed and upset that he's not playing a part tonight. And why wouldn't you be, given the nature of the game and what is at stake? Remember, the winners play Spain in the semi-finals. Spain came through on penalties. If you didn't know, if you're just coming in from work or you're coming in from being out, they won 3-1 on penalties against the Swiss in St. Petersburg. That meant they're in the European Championship semi-finals for the third time in the last 4 tournaments. Here's Jeremy Doku, who impressed against Finland when he was given his chance. He tries to get around Di Lorenzo. He's got to be careful tonight as he's 1 card away from suspension. But he does well to win it for the Italians, as there was a few players queuing around Jeremy Doku. And it's gone for a Italy throw on the... for a Belgium throw on the left-hand side, which is thrown back into field to Toby Alderweireld, who is reportedly wanted to leave Tottenham following Nuno Espirito Santo's appointment. Picks out Lukaku, takes under control, but Lukaku's shot is high, and the flag is raised by Tomasz Klančnik from Slovenia. Of course, Slavko Vincic, the referee, put his arm up in the air and blew his whistle just as soon as Lukaku skied his effort. And the other assistant, incidentally, is Andras Kovacic. And Lukaku, the ball was played into him from Alderweireld. He just took the ball under control on the edge of the box, and he just sort of maybe took a touch or 2 extra inside the area, and he tried to beat Donnarumma, and it beat the keeper, but it went over the crossbar and was not on target, which was a disappointment for Lukaku. Is Leonardo Spinazzola. Many feel he's probably been one of the stars of this tournament, not just for the Azzurri, but in terms of the actual competition since it began 3 weeks ago. And the Italians opened it, remember, at the Stadio Olimpico. Here's Verratti. Out to the left now with Lorenzo Insigne. He plays a high ball to the right-hand flank of the box. Chiesa gets it back in on the volley, but it bounces all the way through to Thibaut Courtois. 5 minutes in. Belgium 0, Italy 0 in Munich. Remember, of course, we've got the last 2 quarterfinals to bring you. It's Denmark against the Czech Republic in Baku tomorrow at 5. Nicholas Jones on the mic for that one. And then John Kane brings you England against Ukraine in Rome. England win, they will go to the last 4 of the European Championships and face the winner of Denmark, Czech Republic. But who will be our second quarterfinalists? Will it be Belgium or will it be the Italians? This is nice interchange play by the Belgians on the left-hand side. Here's Jeremy Doku taking on Bonucci. Crosses low, looking for Lukaku, but it's well beyond the Inter Milan striker as Chiellini comes across to just step in front of Romelu Lukaku. And he had his radar on and his defensive head on there to just step in front of the big, powerful Romelu Lukaku. Well, yeah, Lukaku's got to be watched under close eyes, but Doku started very, very well. He always wants to play very, very wide. He's not afraid to take his man on. There's a lot of big hope about him in Belgium, and you can see why the start he's made here. Courtois gets it from Toby Alderweireld. He clears it down the middle of the pitch looking for Lukaku as the ball eventually went into Italy's half. Chiellini comfortably heads that to his right and back to Gianluigi Donnarumma. Bonucci to Di Lorenzo. Carries the ball forward now into Belgium's half. He's carried it about 5 yards. On the right-hand side now with Barella. Gives it to Chiesa. And it's an Italy throw. Well, this is a game you're watching on the Commentary Hub's YouTube page and on the Commentary Hub's Periscope page. Also Mike Harneman's YouTube and on JB Sports, who've been partnering us throughout the tournament. And of course, we'll continue to do so all the way through to the final in 9 days' time. Here is Chiellini on the ball now up to the right with Bonucci's centre-back partner, the Juve pair. Here's Di Lorenzo. Looks to try and play a chip ball through the middle. Looking to get Immobile involved in the game, but it's not got enough legs to go all the way through. Lukaku gets his body up to hold off Chiellini. Meunier now tries to spray it out to the left-hand flank with Doku. Di Lorenzo watches the ball in the air and heads it away, but heads it straight to Torgan Hazard and gives it to Axel Witsel, who then gives it to Vertonghen, who knocks it all the way back to his goalkeeper, Thibaut Courtois. Now, here is Alderweireld now to Meunier, the right wing back, who's come to receive the ball short from his defender on his side. Alderweireld. Spinazzola gets his body up on the left-hand side, and the Italians win it back. Here's Verratti. Now to Jorginho. He's got Barella, who he could play to his right. He had Immobile down the middle, but instead he went left to Verratti. Now Insigne tries to play the ball to Immobile, but it's gone over his head. And had to play for a goal kick. Bit of a rush pass there by Insigne. Came on the inside to try and continue the attack, but unfortunately the ball that he put was one well away from his striker, Immobile, who scored against Turkey and, of course, scored against the Swiss. Hasn't yet added to that since those 2 goals in the opening 2 group matches. He'll be looking to do so tonight. Here is Jorginho. Now to Bonucci, as the Italians have just kept possession for the last sort of minute or 2. Bonucci out to the left-hand side. That's a lovely ball to Lorenzo Insigne. They're just trying to stretch the game, make the Belgians come wide as the Italians come forward. Here's Spinazzola. Now to Verratti. Now to Jorginho. Verratti again. The Italians patiently keeping the ball in the middle here with Bonucci. Now, Di Lorenzo, it's gone from left to right very, very quickly. And then Chiesa tries to play it through to Barella. Good defending by Witsel. Torgan Hazard's facing his own goal, but gives it back to Vertonghen, who's going to no doubt just smash it away with his left foot and clears it all the way out of play for an Italian throw on the right-hand side as they pen the minutes. Taken quickly by Di Lorenzo. Immobile tries to give it to Chiesa, but it's cut out by the Belgian midfield. Now Immobile gets it back. Verratti with the first-time ball out to the left. Too short and straight to Meunier, who clears it high towards Lukaku. Now Spinazzola. Both sides you can see very early on want to play it quick, want to try and force their keepers, Donnarumma and Courtois, that they're facing into action very early on. Jorginho gets it from a lovely fit by Barella. Now it's Immobile, but he's slipped and as he's tried to play the ball out towards Chiesa, he's overcooked it and it's gone out for a throw on his right-hand side. Coming up to 10 minutes. Belgium 0, Italy 0 in a game you're listening to on the Commentary Hub, the home of alternative commentary. Remember, Belgium have not been in a European Championship semi-final since 1980. The Italians' last semi-final was 2012. So there's a long gap between these two countries in terms of their status, in terms of semi-finals. The Italians, should they reach the semi-finals, make good reading for the fact they won in 2000 and in 2012, where they beat the Dutch on penalties. And, of course, they beat the Germans in Poland 9 years ago. Here's Tielemans now to Meunier out on the right-hand side. He's familiar with playing against Bayern Munich in this stadium with Borussia Dortmund. His cross from the right has bounced off an Italian player and it's gone for a corner. Well, that's what they're going to look to do, isn't it? You're going to get your wing-backs involved in Meunier and obviously Torgan Hazard. And that's the first time we've seen him push forward. Meunier's going to always look to try and get the cross to Lukaku. But, of course, you've got to make sure your crosses go beyond your centre-back, which is Bonucci or Chiellini on their respective left or right-hand side. But that's what Belgium will look to do. If you give Tielemans or Witsel time to play the ball out wide, they can do it. De Bruyne takes the corner from the right. In it goes. Marlon was attacking it. It is hacked away by the Italian defence, who aren't all the way up yet. Witsel with a clever flick out to his left with Vertonghen, but it's a foul by Witsel. And it's a free kick to Italy inside their own half and in the middle of the pitch. Yeah, it was Barella just tried to get it under control. Flick it forward away from Witsel, who just sort of goes into the side of him. And there's enough contact to go down and give a free kick. Well, it took Spain penalties to win earlier on. Will we get the same outcome tonight in Munich? And for the second game running, we've seen the Swiss involved in a penalty shootout twice now. They've won one and lost one. And a free kick has been given away on the right-hand side by Torgan Hazard as he Just pulls down on Jorginho there. Free kick to Italy. Yeah, he just sort of grapples him, doesn't he, on his right shoulder, and it's enough to pull him down, isn't it? So a free kick to Italy. As the Azzurri fans look on, hoping that their side can get an early goal as we're approaching the first quarter of this one. It's Insigne's going to take it from the right. Spinazzola was around it as well, but it's going to be Insigne who's going to take it with his arm in the air. Belgium have got a high line, all their players on the 6-yard box, and it goes to Chiellini, missed by him, but not by Bonucci, and Italy have taken the lead in Munich. Well, it was a wicked delivery by Insigne. It beat Chiellini, it beat Di Lorenzo, but Bonucci was the third player running to try and tap it home, and he's done exactly that. And the Azzurri fans behind the goal, the north side of the Fußball Arena in Munich, are going absolutely crazy. It's Belgium 0, Italy 1. And it's a fantastic start in the opening quarter of an hour by Roberto Mancini's boys. Well, is Chiellini offside? It's going to get checked by VAR. Then the big question is whether Di Lorenzo is. And it goes beyond both of them. Di Lorenzo flicks it on off his right thigh, off onto Bonucci's chest, and it goes in. Luckily for Di Lorenzo, it came off him and the goal went in. Well, they've actually looked at the VAR, and it will be no goal. It is offside. It's the right decision. Chiellini just strayed slightly forward, as did Giovanni Di Lorenzo. So Belgium have got away with one. The VAR, incidentally, is Bastian Dankert from Germany. And he stepped in and made the right call. And the one thing about VAR in this tournament that's impressed many people at home and pundits alike is the fact it's been very quick, largely with the decisions they've had to make, whether it's offside or penalties or yellow cards or red cards or whatever. Here come Belgium on the left-hand side with Axel Witsel. He gets it from Hazard. Now Tielemans in the middle of the pitch. Low ball out to the right with Alderweireld. Now to Thomas Meunier. Alderweireld plays it to Thomas Vermaelen. But that is a worry for the Belgians. That first ball in that was put in by Insigne was an absolutely tip-top ball in. A low whip delivery with his right foot, but a lot of curve on it. And of course, if that is what the Italians are going to try and create from, Belgium will be hoping they don't give them too many free kicks tonight here in Munich. 15 gone. Belgium 0, Italy 0. If you are just coming in, Italy have just had a goal ruled out rightly due to an offside against both Giorgio Chiellini and Giovanni Di Lorenzo. Just both straight forward as Leonardo Bonucci saw the ball bounce off his chest and into Thibaut Courtois' goal via Di Lorenzo flicking it into him. It's Tielemans who will strike. It's deflected off an Italian player. The ball still travelled at pace towards Gianluigi Donnarumma. It's gone for a Belgium corner. Yeah, Tielemans just had some space around about 25 yards out. It just took a deflection off an Italian player who was sliding in to close it down. And he's actually hit it well enough that it's just bounced off the back of one of the Italian player's legs and carried all the way through. And luckily for Donnarumma, he saw it go beyond his post. Doku gets his shot from De Bruyne. He's away from Di Lorenzo. He cuts it back to Alderweireld. Just goes a little bit away from him. But the attack's still not over yet, though. Vertonghen gets it from Torgan Hazard, who's now on the corner of the right-hand box. Crosses in. And then there's a diving header away by Bonucci. Now De Bruyne, he'll shoot. And Chiellini in the way of it, down the middle of Donnarumma's goal. That looked like it was travelling on target. But Giorgio Chiellini, that is the wall that he is, was in the way of the shot. He doesn't get affected by it, does he? They both have a little smile. I think De Bruyne knows what a good block that was by Chiellini. He's in the right place at the right time just to get his head in there and just get his positioning right to head it out for a throw to his right. So on the left-hand side, it's been an absorbing encounter so far. Both sides have tried to create chances so far in Munich. But of course, it still remains 0-0. Here is Vertonghen out now to Torgan Hazard. Now look to try and find Lukaku. Tried to go beyond Bonucci, but he was alongside him and well equipped to not allow Lukaku to get beyond him. Now to Spinazzola on the left-hand side. Now gives it to Marco Verratti. Now, Bonucci. Low ball out to the right with Di Lorenzo. Forward he comes. He's about 25 yards away from the goal. Slides it through to Chiesa on his right-hand side. Cross goes in, but turning his body in to clear it away was Jan Vertonghen. Good defending as well, as Belgium are just playing it in and around their own back line. And then Vertonghen gets it from Torgan Hazard and sends it clear to Bonucci, who gets it under control nicely with his right foot. Time to play the ball in the middle to Spinazzola, who gets under control and brings it forward. He's been allowed a lot of time to do so. Belgium have got their back five shape. Witsel and Tielemans very much just sitting there. Every one of their outfielders is back inside their own half because they know that the Italians can be so quick when they get the ball closer towards the opposition half. That's what they showed against the Swiss and the Turkish, wasn't it, in their first two games, how quick they could be, how devastating they could just turn the attack that seemingly looked like it was nothing into something that led to, obviously, of course, a goal in which they were very impressive in the group, winning 3 games and not conceding at all. Immobile received it from Verratti, but he was unable to play the ball to his left and get beyond the wing-back Thomas Meunier on the right-hand side. Chiellini. Now to Verratti. To Leonardo Bonucci. I think so far you saw Belgium probably first 10 minutes shake the game. Now it's the Italians probably having some of it as well. But it's a really interesting contest. I think both sides have tried to lay their stalls out quite quickly. Tried to take the game to one another. Maybe Belgium have done that just a little bit more in terms of giving the Italians a bit more worry in the defence. But I mean, that ball in by Insigne was a sign that Italy will look to try and take advantage from free kicks should they get them. Insigne tries to play it through to Spinazzola, but it's cut out well by the Belgian defence. And then Verratti pulls on Tielemans' shirt, and that's going to be a yellow card for the Paris Saint-Germain midfielder. He's got no complaints as he's finally shown the yellow card by Slavko Vincic, the Slovenian referee. When he received it well, Tielemans, he turned out on his right foot, sprinted away from Verratti, who was behind him, pulled on his shirt. That is one of those that you put into the cynical foul category by Marco Verratti, and he has his name taken in the referee's book. Yeah, no complaints. I mean, obviously he was scrambling back, wasn't he? And Tielemans isn't the slowest of players. He was trying to get forward. You could almost say, though, being that far out, I'm not too sure he needs to make the foul, but obviously they're going to be aware of what the Belgians will bring on the counter-attack. Tielemans then goes in on Verratti as he wants to give him a taste of his own medicine with a bit more of a harder challenge as he went to ground with his feet and didn't let his hands foul Verratti. There wasn't a lot in that, more so than Verratti's, but it is a foul as Tielemans was not happy with the referee's decision. It's so much so that Slavko Vincic has just gone and put the man who was fouled by Verratti. So both are giving as good as they got in their individual battle in the midfield. 20 minutes gone. Belgium 0, Italy 0 in Munich. Spain won earlier on penalties after 1-1 after 90 minutes and 130 more minutes of extra time. Remember, Remo Freuler was sent off in the second half for Switzerland, so they played 2 periods of extra time with no a man short as Insigne goes into the box, just tries to dance his way beyond the Belgian defenders, and then there was a little arm in the side, but there was nothing more than just trying to derail your opponent rather than an actual obstruction or a sort of foul, and the referee Slavko Vincic doesn't give it, and that was the right decision. Yeah, it was. I mean, Insigne is very capable of doing that, isn't he? Just in those little tight areas, just trying to get a shot in or a cross, or just trying to find the angle to bend one beyond the goalkeeper. And he just tried to do so here, but the Belgians read exactly what he was doing as he got closer towards Courtois' goal. De Bruyne gets it via an Italian flick. He's got Lukaku to his right, Doku to his left. He may go it alone. De Bruyne goes on his left foot. Brilliant right hand by Donnarumma. It was a powerful driven effort by Kevin De Bruyne. He shifted it onto his left foot, got onto the edge of the box. He was central when he took aim. Donnarumma, though, dived quickly, and a big right hand stops Kevin De Bruyne, and that is the closest that Belgium have come to scoring. Yeah, Donnarumma with a really good save, good commanding save, quick off his feet, moved over quickly. Really exemplary goalkeeping by the young man. Well, he is in his mid-20s, is Gianluigi Donnarumma, and of course, is the successor to Buffon and the Italian national team. Not bad boots to fill, is it? De Bruyne with a deep cross in there, but it's straight down the middle and easy for Gianluigi Donnarumma to take as Belgium went short from it. Not the best roll up by Donnarumma. Tried to roll it out to Spinazzola on the left-hand side. He then won it, and then the ball goes to Meunier via Vertonghen, but Meunier's rushed the cross and has hit it over the bar. And Leonardo Bonucci, I think, is just saying for his side to just calm down. And you can see that the replay's in front of me. Bonucci was offside, as was Di Lorenzo. So certainly Italy can't say conspiracy or controversy in that sense. Now it's with Jorginho. In the middle, he now plays it to Verratti out on the left. Now to Spinazzola, the Italy left back. Meunier intercepts it via that heavy touch by Spinazzola. Lukaku and Chiellini both battling, and then Chiellini, who looked like he might have just got himself in a bit of a whirl and didn't know where the ball was, just relaxed and then let the ball bounce and then played it with his left foot. Now Verratti into Immobile. Witsel with the sliding challenge. Good one as well, but his pass back from De Bruyne into Witsel was a heavy one, which the Italians have won back, courtesy of Immobile. Here is Insigne. Now to Verratti. Spinazzola, maybe a chance to cross. He's going to take on Meunier. Tries to go on the outside of him, but Meunier stands his ground and sends it forward for Lukaku down the middle. Martinez wants a foul. The referee doesn't think so. Martinez with his arms out. Fernando Rapalini, the Argentine, is the fourth official tonight. He just, of course, stood there and had to let Martinez just appeal alongside him. But play continues with Giorgio Chiellini. Now to Marco Verratti. Now to Insigne. He's got Immobile ahead of him and he tries to find him and does. To the edge of the box he is. He's got his back away from Courtois and Belgium's goal, and then Belgium win it and rob him off in the midfield, and it's Meunier with the clearance away then. Bonucci with a lovely first-time ball out to the left with Spinazzola. Here's Verratti, who's very much playing wide of the three in the middle. Jorginho's the centre of the trio. Now out to the left with Spinazzola. Insigne. Jorginho again. Very much just players alongside the other one at the moment for the Italians. Insigne with the low cross into Immobile. Tries to give it to Barella, but good foot in there by Vertonghen. De Bruyne just gets away from the Italian midfielder Jorginho. Now it's out to the left with Lukaku. He loves to come in from that side. He maybe got himself into a bit of a spin, but does shoot. Donnarumma saves with his right hand again. It was another diving save. This time he had to go well low. Gianluigi Donnarumma, and as he parried it to his right, Di Lorenzo with the first time clearance out for a corner. Well, Lukaku sort of slightly goes off balance. He's done maybe one step over too much. And then he does eventually just try and pass it beyond Donnarumma. Doesn't quite get it far enough in the corner, but he still forces a save out of him. It's a good diving low one. And Di Lorenzo takes no chance and just gives away a corner. De Bruyne with the corner to take on the right-hand side. The delivery is one that Vermaelen tries to flick on. It's bounced off Immobile, gone all the way to the edge of the box with Insigne. He now gives it to Spinazzola. Now it's the Italians' turn to show what they can do from the counter-attack. But Spinazzola gets away with it as the ball comes off Torgan Hazard and back into his path. It's Chiesa on the left-hand side. Chiesa shoots. It's deflected off Alderweireld. And Courtois was briefly wrong-footed for a moment, but has managed to regain his composure and get his positioning right to take the ball. But as he tries to roll it out, the Italians win it back. Here's Chiesa around about 20 yards out to Verratti. Chiesa gets it back, shoots on his left foot. The angle was closed down brilliantly by Toby Alderweireld. And this game is really starting to flicker into life. Both sides immediately and just desperate to get the opening goal. It's been real nip and tuck, this one. It's been too close to call. It was before the game, and it has been so far. Insigne opens up, but it's too high as he's off target. And not a bad effort by Insigne, but one that he just couldn't keep down. Yeah, he receives it from his left back, sort of Spinazzola, and he just falls De Bruyne because De Bruyne comes out to close down Jorginho, and that leaves a massive gap for the ball to fall into Insigne. And of course, as he sort of likes to play on the inside, he opens up there and tries to bend it beyond Thibaut Courtois, who knew from the moment that it left Insigne's foot, it was going beyond the post. 27 and a half minutes played. Belgium 0, Italy 0 on a game listening to on the Commentary Hub, the home of alternative commentary. We're on JB Sports on YouTube. We're on the Commentary Hub's YouTube page. We're on the Commentary Hub on Periscope. We're on Mike Arneman's personal YouTube page. Spain won earlier on. They are awaiting the winners of this one tonight in Munich, which is still currently goalless, as I just mentioned. Spain were took all the way by 10-man Switzerland and won 3-1 on penalties. Even though the Swiss had a penalty shootout themselves that they won on Monday night, they couldn't repeat the trick and do it again, as the Spanish denied them. And Luis Enrique's side are into the semi-finals, which will see them go to Wembley. The Italians have already played at Wembley in this tournament, as they beat Austria in the round of 16 on Saturday night in extra time to play this game against Belgium. Will they be there again on Tuesday against the Spanish? Here's Spinazzola, the AS Roma left-back, of course, who welcomes Jose Mourinho into the door as the Garrossi manager this week. Insigne to Immobile, just couldn't get the return back. Insigne. Italy still have it and are still causing problems. Now Chiesa, who's gone out to the right-hand side, opens up, shoots on his left foot, went through the middle. It was hacked away by Vermaelen. He's got such clever feet as Chiesa, the Juventus loanee. Now Spinazzola, it's all Italy at the moment. They're putting the pressure on the Belgians, who are standing firm, just as they did in the latter stages of Portugal. Spinazzola in the box, crosses. It's got off Meunier and out for an Italy corner. Well, this is the game you just cannot take your eyes off, isn't it? It's very, very fast-paced. We've seen a lot of these games in the tournament, and in particular, the ones I've been sort of commentating on, they've been, quite at times they've slowed down, but this is just one that both sides just want to be full throttle and be very, very intense with. Slavko Vincic won't let Lorenzo Insigne take the corner from the left-hand side because Chiellini and Axel Witsel are having a bit of a tussle. That's a bit more too friendly for my liking, as it's sort of just down the middle, right in front of Slavko Vincic. And it goes by Insigne. Attacking it was Di Lorenzo, and it has gone out of play for an Italy throw via the head of Thomas Vermaelen. Martinez gives the ball to Marco Verratti, who's been booked. Didn't actually start the first two games of the tournament, did Marco Verratti? He was injured that he picked up towards the back end of the club season with Paris Saint-Germain, and it meant that Manuel Locatelli played. Probably finds himself a bit unlucky, Locatelli, that he scored 2 against Switzerland and then didn't start the third game against Wales and hasn't had his place in the team back since, as Torgan Hazard with a hefty challenge into the side of Giovanni Di Lorenzo. And it's a free kick to Italy. Half an hour gone in Munich. Belgium 0, Italy 0. Remember, 2 more games to bring you. The quarterfinals are wrapped up. As going down is Immobile. Italy still have it in the box here with Barella. Great feed by Barella, and Italy have scored. Great advantage played by Slavko Vincic. They were denied about a quarter of an hour ago, courtesy of Bonucci, but there's nothing wrong with that from Nicolo Barella, who shows wonderful feet inside the Belgian box to open up on his right foot and fire it beyond Thibaut Courtois. Belgium 0, Italy 1. And in the last 5 minutes, Italy have been the dominant side, and they finally got a goal they've got a goal to show for it. They take it quickly. The Belgians go deep. They're half asleep. It's a great advantage played by the Slovenian referee, Slavko Vincic, because Immobile does look like he gets a bit of a kick, but it might not be enough to give a penalty, but they carry on the Italians. Verratti plays it to Barella. It's just simple. Ball into him, and Barella knows that he's got a bit of a gap between Vermaelen, and if he can get away from Vertonghen on his right, he will open up and shoot because Vermaelen's shown him too much to the inside. That's exactly what he did, and he put it beyond Gianluigi. He put it beyond Thibaut Courtois, and it's Belgium 0, Italy 1. Well, Barella has really been a superb player for the Italians since Roberto Mancini came in, and he's got his first goal of these European Championships. And it was only a matter of time, really, and only a matter of minutes before there was going to be a goal in this game. And lo and behold, we ended up getting one, courtesy of Nicolo Barella. And the Inter Milan man has managed to get his name on the score sheet in this one. And as it stands, they're on their way to Wembley to face the Spanish in the first European Championship semi-final. Spinazzola with the throw-in, which he throws down the left-hand side, looking for Insigne, but it's Alderweireld who's underneath it. Then Spinazzola gets it back, clears it forward. Immobile will chase with Vermaelen, who just knocks it back to Courtois, who tries to get away from Immobile, and then he goes into the side of Courtois. He tries to play his way out of trouble and get beyond his man. Immobile with a flick of a wrist to say that's not a foul. But it did look a little more of a heftier sort of block, shall we say. It is Belgium 0, Italy 1. Nicola Barella's goal around about 60 seconds ago is the difference between the two sides. Remember, the quarterfinals are wrapped up tomorrow. Denmark, Czech Republic at 5. Nicholas Jones brings you that for the commentary hub. And then tomorrow, John Kane on the mic as England take on Ukraine. Both those games, of course, in Baku and Rome, respectively. And, of course, should England win, they will face either the Danes or the Czechs in the semi-final at Wembley. And, of course, in 9 days' time, they could be finalists themselves as Meunier tries to give it to De Bruyne. It's skidded off Jorginho's foot, and so much so that he's got a lot of pace to go out for a corner kick. And Meunier just tries to play it forward, and Jorginho intercepts that ball just as it was about to trickle on through to De Bruyne, and it's gone right off his foot, and it's just sort of curved out of play for a corner kick. De Bruyne takes from the left-hand side. His crossing has not been the greatest. It's a high one into Witsel, right in the centre and right at the heart of the Italian defence. Bonucci rises highest head away to his left. Torgan Hazard now to Meunier with the cross. It's headed away by the Italian defence. Chiellini underneath it. And then Spinazzola heads it straight to Federico Chiesa. He now gets it from Barella, the goal scorer. And then he gets it back from Chiesa and just gives it back to centre-back Leonardo Bonucci. Here's Verratti. It's not the first time that Belgium have been behind in these European Championship. Remember, they came from behind against Denmark in their second match at the Telia Parken and came back to win with Torgan Hazard and De Bruyne scoring there. They're going to have to do it again if they are to reach the semi-finals and not be done in the quarter-finals for the second tournament running. Wales put pay to them and the Euros in France 5 years ago. It's the Italians doing it at the moment in Euro 2020 as the Italians try and build an attack, but it is stopped by the Belgian midfield, and Courtois gets it back and clears it. Lukaku gets in front of Bonucci, but he thought he was fouled, but De Bruyne has instead fouled Jorginho, and it's a free kick to Italy just on the halfway line with the final 10 minutes of the half to go. Belgium 0, Italy 1. Well, it all comes, that goal, doesn't it, from Italy being smart. They just were quickly switched on. They wanted to take it quick, just see if the Belgians were on their toes, and they found out Roberto Martinez's Red Devils weren't. And you could almost say that the Italians, very much in white, almost acting as like the angels, you could say, are very much putting the sword to the Red Devils in the Euro 2020 hopes, and of course winning it for the very first time. Alderweireld to Meunier inside his half. Now to Yuri Tielemans. Back to the goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois, who then plays it along the floor onto the left with Jeremy Doku, who's gone quiet after a bright early start by the Rennes man. It was a bold call by Martinez to put him in. He could have put Chadley in. He could have put Mertens in, Carrasco or Trossard of Brighton, but he chose Jeremy Doku, impressed by all accounts in their pre-warm-up friendly against Greece before the tournament. Here's Lorenzo Insigne. Out to the right-hand side. Barella with the first-time ball, looking down the middle for Chiesa, but it's gone well off his foot and it's gone all the way through to Thibaut Courtois. Here is now Vermaelen. Here's Vertonghen, who gets it from Thibaut Courtois. Well, it does just maybe feel like that goal for the Italians is just really just took the stuffing out of the Belgians, who were making this a real good contest, weren't they? De Bruyne went close with an effort that Donnarumma saved with a powerful right arm, and Lukaku went close with a low effort that Donnarumma matched as much as De Bruyne's effort. And since that goal, there's been nothing. Can the Belgians come alive as the half is wearing on? Here's Torgan Hazard now to Jeremy Doku. Tielemans. Out of Ireld. Wants someone to come short for him. Meunier made that run out onto the outside of him on his right, but Alderweireld just didn't see him and played it into the middle instead. Here's Doku. Just trying to get beyond Barella. Gives it to Witsel. Now Alderweireld. It took a wonder goal for Belgium to beat Portugal on Sunday night in an absolutely baking Seville. How will they fare towards the end part of the first half here, as they do find themselves behind by a goal to nil, courtesy of Nico Barretta's goal in the 31st minute. Jeremy Doku looking to take on Di Lorenzo, goes on the inside of him. Now checks it back out to the left with Lukaku, who's come out and acted out as a winger for this attack. Going to take on Di Lorenzo, stands his ground well, gives it to Doku nonetheless, as Lukaku still managed to keep the ball at his feet. Doku may just have to put it in. He decides to play it short to Witsel. Now Alderweireld. He now goes out to the right with Meunier. Belgium building the attack. De Bruyne receives it. Verratti with the challenge in. Just put De Bruyne off, but he still keeps the ball at his feet. The Italians just seemingly can't get it off. Belgium, there's the ball is just glued to them. Tielemans with the cross in. It's took a deflection. Di Lorenzo just stabs it away, and then Insigne with the high boots into the air. Immobile, gets his body up. Alderweireld does well to not foul him and head it to Vermaelen. Then the ball goes up in the air again. Torgan Hazard and Verratti both were competing for. I think there was an arm on the face of Verratti, who's gone down, holding his mouth as he checks for blood to see if there was anything from Axel Witsel there, as he just used a hand to just sort of clip Marco Verratti there, and Slavko Vincic was very, very close and on the mark to give a free kick. So play resumes with the Italian free kick, and it was just as the Belgians were having a good spell with the ball, but unfortunately for them, they couldn't force a chance on Donnarumma's goal or get the Italian defenders in a bit of a spin. Ball goes in to the middle to find Immobile, but it's gone beyond him, and Vermaelen diverts the ball out for a corner with his left foot. They have been a long time relationship, the Belgian national team and Thomas Vermaelen. Chiellini and Bonucci both going up. Bonucci's already had one goal ruled out. Will he be able to get a second goal here? And will the Italians be able to do so as well? Should they get a second towards the latter stages of this first half, it would really put them in a fantastic position and really force Roberto Martinez's hand. Verratti's putting the ball down on the quadrant on the right-hand side as he wipes the ball down. Verratti will take high one to the penalty area, looking to find Immobile. It's headed away by a Belgian player. Chiesa shoots! And he is not too far away. When he got on the edge of the box, it was a beautiful first touch. He opened up, he curled it. Courtois had to dive to his left to see that all the way. And it went beyond him and past the post, but Italy go mighty close to scoring, as there's a foul in the middle of the pitch that the referee Slavko Vincic has spotted. I think it was on Lukaku. 4.5 minutes to go in the first half. Belgium 0, Italy 1. Nicola Barella's goal. 31 minutes in is the difference so far in a game where both sides have had their chances. There's not been many games like that in the European Championships prior to really the last few days, where we saw that fantastic game between Switzerland and France. We saw Spain and Croatia play out an absolute thriller, not just a game of the tournament, but you could say the games of the sort of past 20 years in the European Championships, as Chiellini tries to knock the ball to Spinazzola, but it was a heavier ball than Chiellini intended it for it to be. And Belgium take the ball with the throw with Meunier out to Alderweireld. Now Vermaelen to Jan Vertonghen. Vermaelen again. Now Alderweireld. Meunier. Back to Thibaut Courtois. And on the ball now is Vertonghen, looking down the left-hand flank, looking to try and stretch it beyond Di Lorenzo and get Doku moving, but he's unable to do so. Belgium win it in midfield with Torgan Hazard, who's actually just sort of slipped in there when they do attack. So almost doing the Pep Guardiola at Manchester City where their fullbacks tuck in on the inside. But Belgium were unable to make anything happen as the Italians now have possession in their final sort of 30 yards of the pitch. Insigne back to Chiellini. Jorginho. Now Chiesa. So Barella to Di Lorenzo. I think the one thing about the Italians, what's been so good about them is they're just so fast, so quick. They can very much, on the flip of a coin, just turn this game around. And Spinazzola has got a lot of room to attack the ball into. First time, no cross. Immobile's turned his back. He's just going to probably let it back. He goes for goal himself. It wasn't the right move. Barella was alongside him. A few yards away to his right. It was charged down by the Belgian defence. Immobile couldn't really believe that he had that opportunity. His eyes just sort of lit up there, but the Belgians just about did enough to get back and make that shield to stop him getting a shot at Courtois' goal. But it's now with Donnarumma inside his own box. Verratti to Barella. Now out to Lorenzo Insigne. Forward he comes. He'll get his legs moving. Goes on the inside of Tielemans. He might go for goal here, Insigne. He will. He'll curl one. Oh, that is spectacular. Lorenzo Insigne with a piece of absolute magic. It's a solo spectacular by the Napoli man. And Italy have got a second with around 2.5 minutes of the first half to play. Belgium 0, Italy 2. What a fantastic goal it is by Lorenzo Insigne as Roberto Martinez looks on with his Belgian players in sheer disbelief. And the Italians have got one giant foot into the semi-finals. That is what he could do. And I just spoke about how the Italians could just be so quick and just turn the game with individual players of quality at any given time. And he just is allowed to go in the middle. Tielemans should do a lot better for me. He's not strong enough trying to put a foot in. And Insigne just opens up and he has curled it absolutely wonderfully beyond Courtois. He is absolutely nowhere near it. And goals like that deserve so much respect, so much to be talked about, because that is absolutely sensational. While Italy were too strong for Switzerland, Turkey and Wales. The only game that proved difficult was Austria, but they broke down the barriers there to get over the line in extra time. And many thought that Belgium would give the Italians a closer game. It had been like that for 30 minutes, but since Barella's opener and then that from Insigne, there's been a real golfing class as Doku goes on the outside of Di Lorenzo, goes down. It's a penalty. Well, so soon after the Italians were 2-0 up, they've gone and conceded a penalty. It was Di Lorenzo who fouled Jeremy Doku. It was a real good bit of direct running by Doku. He got to the corner of the left-hand box, away from Di Lorenzo. And I think for me, that is enough to give a penalty. Doku tries to go on the inside of him. Di Lorenzo was beaten there. And as he's tried to swing for the ball, he's caught his man and he's just sort of given him a little bit of a nudge. You could say there is enough of a shove to give that a penalty. Slavko Vincic is receiving word from the VAR. Bastien Dankert about whether or not it is a penalty. You've seen them given, you haven't seen them given. It could be a sign of a good show of strength, but then it could be shown as a sign that maybe he's just done a bit too much to try and stop Jeremy Doku continuing the attack in the Italian box. As the VAR, Bastien Dankert, now gets to look at the replays and see what the decision is. He's not told the Slovenian referee Slavko Vincic to go to the VAR. The decision stands. It is a penalty. So Belgium, who were 2-0 down around about 3 minutes ago, now have a great chance to pull it back to 2-1 and to just give them hope and give them belief going into the second half. As Romelu Lukaku to take against Gianluigi Donnarumma. They would have faced each other in the Milan derby this season. It's going to be Lukaku who's going to take. I think he's going to go with his left foot here. It's a little sort of jog, stoltered run, and he scores. Donnarumma dived to his right. Lukaku beats him. Belgium score. It's Belgium 1, Italy 2, and they're going to go into the halftime break in a bit of a better frame of mind than what it could have been at 2-0 down. Yeah, Lukaku just steps up as a confident penalty. The original decision, you've seen them given, you've not seen them given. It's, difficult to sort of weigh up. You really do have to play devil's advocate, but Lukaku just doesn't mess about with the penalty. He goes low down the middle, it's firm enough. Donnarumma dives to his right. He just tries to maybe try and save it with his left leg, but he's unable to do so, and Lukaku scores. Well, half-time in what's been a pulsating one in Munich. The Italian players not happy with Slavko Vincic for giving a penalty to Jeremy Doku, but they won't be unhappy about the scoreline. They lead by 2-1. Nicola Barella scored in the 31st minute after some brilliant play that saw him go on the outside of Marlon and then fire across Courtois to his right to beat him to put them 1-0 up. Then Insigne scored an absolutely superb goal where he picked the ball up and ran about 5 yards and opened up and caught it beyond Courtois to his left and beat him to make it 2-0. And then Belgium, just a few minutes later, won a penalty right on the stroke of half-time with Jeremy Doku going down in rather controversial circumstances. It's a lot to talk about at half-time, but it's in Munich in the second quarter-final. Belgium 1, Italy 2.
Thank you very much, Matt. We'll be back with him a little bit later on. But now, joining me, we've got two special guests. First of all, it's a warm welcome to the man who did excellent commentary as England beat Germany on Tuesday evening. That is John Kane. And John, how are you doing, my friend? You okay?
Good evening, Ross, and I'm doing very well, thank you. It was a great commentary from the first half from Matt as well, so it was fantastic stuff.
Yes, and joining you, John, at the half-time interval on Belgium against Italy to go through the first half with me is none other than our very own Barry Swain as well. Barry, how you doing, mate? You okay?
Evening, Russ. You all right, mate?
Not bad, mate. Thank you. Yourself?
Yeah. Can't complain. Enjoying the football.
Yeah, and well, let's just talk about to both of you, and I'll go to John first on this one. The first goal from Italy, good bit of play from the Italians, and good bit of officiating from the referee to give the advantage as well, wasn't it, John?
Absolutely, it was a good refereeing, and it was a really good goal, and it made up for the goal that was disallowed by Bonucci for about 15, 20 minutes beforehand. Until that point, it was more or less an even game. The Belgians and the Italians, they were both of them. They were really it was a really good battle of midfield between both sides. But it was the Italians who took the lead through Barella, and it was a very good taken ball.
It was indeed, and we'll touch on the other chances as well from that first half, and which we'll get to in a second as we just watch the half-time interval. And we're just looking at the second goal now as well, Baron. The way Insigne picked up from inside the zone after no one picked him up, it was an absolute stunning solo goal, wasn't it, from Insigne?
Yeah, brilliant goal, wasn't it? Yeah, he's picked. I'm just looking at it now. You could have timed that better. He's picked it up inside his own half and presented himself, come inside Tielemans onto that right foot, opened up and right into the corner. And not a lot that Courtois can do about something like that. It's one of the best goals in the tournament, isn't it? Without a shadow of doubt, it would certainly be a contender. Great goal. And you think then Italy are in the driving seat, and for me, they're getting better and better because they're starting to get tested now in these knockout stages by better opposition. And that was my question for Italy: is are they going to be up to it against the likes of Belgium? And certainly on the 45 minutes that we've seen, and certainly yes, they are.
Yes, indeed. Very good goal there as well from Insigne, as Barry's just touched on there, John. And we'll be getting on to the penalty in a minute, but Insigne has had a good tournament for me. We'll get both of your thoughts on that in a moment. But touching on the penalty incident now, John, we're just looking at this incident again. Was it a penalty for you? Because I thought it was at the time.
I think Matt was absolutely spot on. We've seen it given before and also haven't, and it's been overruled. However, from my point of view, it is a penalty, and it's actually a very, very silly challenge by Di Lorenzo. I know he was more or less trying to overtake him, but he took that chance in a very dangerous place, and that is inside the penalty area. And I think De Lorenzo could have probably done better than actually concede that. I call it silly push as far as the Italians are concerned, but
Sure,
it was a penalty.
I was going to say it's one of those penalties you might well get away with without VAR. It's a little nudge under his armpit, almost out of sight. But when you've got half a dozen cameras in all different directions looking at you, and VAR are going to be able to look at those repeatedly and at every speed, you're not going to get away with it, are you? But 10 years ago, you'd have probably got away with that.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. I mean, when you see people things like that, and you see like players diving and all that, and you think, why people do that anymore? Because people it get repeated, and straight away the referee will get informed about it. And but some players are still a bit immature when it comes to things like that. That's probably the best possible way I can say it.
And with VAR as well, you go back to the first Italy goal. If the player's gone down, is it a penalty? The referee's just brushed that aside. So if it's a penalty, I'll come back to that. VAR will look after that. Leave it to one side. They got on with it. Advantage was taken, and they scored the goal. Now, if that was a penalty and nothing came of the advantage, they might well have gone back and given the penalty. And that's the great thing. When VAR is used properly, like it has been for 95% of this tournament, it's great, isn't it? We spent all the last season in the Premier League berating this system, saying it's an absolute sham. When it's used properly, it's brilliant. And it's been underlined on more than one occasion in the first half.
Absolutely. I mean, I always said that about VAR, that VAR is a brilliant tool to be used. And unfortunately, in the Premier League, it's sort of like been misused. We've seen so many bad decisions came out of it that gave VAR a very bad name. But it's a fantastic tool to be used. And it actually worked. Like now, as you mentioned, in a tournament, we're talking a high percentage of the times it's been used correctly. So VAR does work. It's just you need the people behind it to be able to operate it properly. And sometimes you sort of get confused, don't you? Like in some of the decisions we saw in the Premier League, are the people behind it really referees? Sometimes that makes sense. I'm thinking, do you really make that decision? You're supposed to be no better than that. But it's working well this tournament, and let's keep it as that for the time being.
It is working. It is working well in this tournament. Just looking at the offside goal again, which was disallowed by VAR for the Italians, and they got that one spot on. Both players went in an offside position. Definitely. But before we go back to this game and get ready for the second half, and I'm back to Matt very shortly, there's just a quick bit of a doubt. We'll just touch on the England game while I've got you here, John, and you here, Barry, as well. Gareth Southgate in his press conference tonight did say there's a doubt over Bukayo Saka, who picked up a little bit of a knock today. If Saka is out of the match against Ukraine tomorrow, would you be inclined? I'll come to you first, Barry. Would you be inclined to fetching Jack Grealish into the side, or would you put Phil Foden in, knowing if he picks up a booking, he will miss the semi-final should England progress? Would you start Jack Grealish over Foden tomorrow if Saka is out?
It's a very good question, Russ. I don't know. No, in all honesty, everyone's got an opinion with the England team at the moment, and that heaps pressure on Gareth Southgate to get it right. He got it absolutely right against the Germans, and I'm hoping he'll get it right tomorrow. I mean, Grealish has been fantastic off the bench. Now, if he starts tomorrow and has a nightmare, and everyone's going to say, oh, you need to start him off the bench. So, it's a no-win situation. Phil Foden's on the yellow. Is he going to wrap him up in cotton wool? I wouldn't have thought so. It's a very interesting one. He might well go with Mason Mount. He might well just change it up a little bit, play four at the back, and go with someone like Mason Mount. He's got riches at his disposal, isn't he? I mean, he can use any one of 4 or 5, and Rashford could come in. Sancho. It's not bad, is it? He's got an absolute great choice of players to bring in, and they'll all do a job. It's all about winning the game, isn't it?
It is, yes. And John, I'm going to put you in Gareth Southgate's shoes now, John, with you being the commentator for tomorrow, but I'll put you in Gareth Southgate's shoes tomorrow. Saka's a bit of an injury doubt. You know what Grealish can do. You know what Foden can do. You know what Rashford offers you. You know what Sancho offers you when they play. Previously played under in qualifiers for major tournaments. Who would you start if Saka was an injury doubt tomorrow, John?
I would probably go with Jack Grealish because if he doesn't start it, then the people will start saying, "Oh, look, he came in, what, half a minute hour to go, and then he changed the game," and he did. He had the hands on both goals. As far as Phil Foden's yellow card, I personally don't think is important because we need to progress for the next stage. Now, if Phil Foden gets the yellow and missed the other game, then it's bad luck. But we need to think about Ukraine first because we're not in the semi-final yet to worry about the yellow because we don't want to get to the situation when we sort of losing a game against the Ukraine and then we bring in Phil Foden and then by then it's probably too late and it doesn't really matter if you had a yellow or two, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I
Yes.
kind of agree with you there, John. I think there are other players on the yellow card who you'd be more worried about receiving the yellow card tomorrow night for the semi-finals. But
No, absolutely.
The other players on the book, the other players on the booking, who's probably part of the key people in this squad. There's 4 people on the booking. There's Aaron Maguire, who's since he's come back and has been a good addition to the back. Then there's Rice and Phillips, both key for how England progress further forward, both progress that eye up the pitch, push England eye up the pitch as well, be further up the pitch as well. So, and then Phil Foden. So we've got those 4 there. The first 3 are probably behind Harry Kane, I would say, probably one of the first 3 on the team sheet with how England play with this setup, the Southgate score, whether it's 3 back or 4 back, both Rice and Phillips, because with Phillips, he plays a bit further forward, very advanced where he has played, where he has, and he's done well, because then Rice can push forward and then Phillips drops back and vice versa. So for those 3, basically part of this, probably I would say the first 3 are probably span of the team where he goes Maguire at the back alongside Sid Stones, then put Rice in front of the back 4, then Phillips along. They'll just be further up. Play like a 2, but he plays be more advanced of the 2 midfielders in front of the back 4, and then we can switch because 1 minute on Tuesday against Germany, 1 minute it were Phillips going forward and creating problems for the German back line. Next minute it was Declan Rice, and they didn't know which one to pick up, and if he uses, and if if any of those 3 get booking, I think it could be real problems. Probably, especially the back with Maguire, 'cause Mings. He were probably my favourite to the start, was being slow at the back. Only probably the one we could play is probably, I'd say, in that one, probably Connor Cody or Ben White, the centre back in
I
the
agree. I agree with you, Ross,
semi-final.
and
And then
all
the
of
other
that.
2, and then the other 2, we've got Anderson who could come in and do a job at
Bellingham.
CDM, and Jude Bellingham who can play that
Yeah.
bit further forward. So I'd probably put Mings in Mings or Cody in for Maguire, Henderson in for Rice, and Bellingham in for Phillips. Although if we were to play one of the other 3 on a booking, I'd probably keep Phillips in and just have Bellingham in for Rice and just put Phillips in front of the back 4 where he has played for Leeds and done a very good job and
Russ,
has stood in there for
if you had a
England.
choice between losing tomorrow night or winning and those 3 players all picking up the yellow card, you'd take the win and those 3 players picking up the yellow card. And then it's a nice problem to have in a way because he's got, again, as I mentioned earlier, he's got plenty of players that are more than capable of stepping up in an international tournament semi-final stage. In a semi-final, whoever we're playing, if we get through, we stand a very good chance of progressing through to the final.
Yeah,
The other side of the
and
draw is the stronger, and it just got to. I think at the moment we've just got to win this game tomorrow, get it back to Wembley, and take it step by step.
I completely agree. I think the
and also,
problem.
Barry, well, before I'll let you jump in a second, John, just before we go back to the
Yeah.
second half, just because the players will be getting ready to come back out in a moment. Also, with let's say if we're needing to get a goal late on, and we've only used say one of us 5 allotted substitutes that we can have, we can fetch on say Rice or Phillips to add a bit more pace going a bit further forward to add to the attack and other players, and leave Maguire and say Rice, if you don't fetch Rice on, to play that bit for the semi-final if needed. And John, just what do you want to say quickly just before Going back to Matt, please.
Yes, no, basically what I was going to say, I don't want England to think about any yellow cards or anything like that, because you look at like the game earlier, Switzerland against Spain, how close was that, for Spain to be eliminated? We don't want to be putting, some players on the pitch, on a sub pitch, and we think, we're going to go through. It's only Ukraine. Let's not play that game. I don't want Southgate. But quickly for Matt as well, while he's joining us, the thing about today's game, which I've noticed, we got the Belgium defence, 32, 34 and 35 years old. They cannot cope with people like Insania and others who are actually going forward at them.
No, they can. And I think, obviously, at the start of the second half, I think the one thing that Roberto Martinez will be getting concerned about is in particular how much space Insignia's had. He very much is dropping inside, so he's playing as an inside forward. He's very much as the link man, isn't he? I mean, he scored that wonderful solo goal where he just kind of had to take things on his own, didn't he? He didn't have anything really ahead of him or to his right. And of course, he did all the hard work and opened up and bent the ball in beautifully. But he's been the real problem for me. And I think, it means a bit more work for Tielemans and Witsel. I think in particular, Tielemans off the ball has not been the greatest so far. But yeah, the back three, I think Vertonghen, Alderweireld and Vermaelen do maybe need to just try and watch out for him, and as well Chiesa and Immobile, because they've both had sniffs just as much as Insigne has.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And thanks for joining me at half time. John will probably fetch back at the full time, but now it's time to hand back over. And thanks to Barry as well. But now it's time to hand back over to Matt Tiles for the second half.
Thank you very much, Russ. Yeah, good halftime discussion on England and Italy, Belgium. That penalty, whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it, has just made this second half very interesting and very much intriguing as the Italians get us underway as they go from right to left. In all white, the Italians. Belgium in all red in their home strip. Here's Insigne, the man who scored that wonderful second goal. Immediately tries to get it out to the right to Chiesa as he just stumbles as he tries to get the ball under control. It was beyond him anyway, but of course it was a real shame that he couldn't keep that under control. Go through the two sides quickly. No changes at the break. So starting from goalkeeper to attack it for Belgium. It's Courtois in goal. Back three, Alderweireld, Vermaelen, Vertonghen. They've gone with a four of Meunier, Tielemans, Witsel, Torgan Hazard. It is Immobile in the box. It's one that he just cannot get a shot from as he's sort of just tried to roll it and then shoot, but it's cut up by the Belgian defence. And Torgan Hazard is at left wing back. And then they've got Jeremy Doku, Lukaku and De Bruyne as the three attackers, the subs. Kaminski, Sells, Boyata, Denayer, Dendoncker, Carrasco, Mertens, Chadley, Trossard, Pratt, Benteke and Batshuayi. The Italians, no changes for them. 4-3-3, starting with goalkeeper. Donnarumma in goal. Di Lorenzo, Bonucci, Chiellini, Spinazzola, Barella, Jorginho, Verratti, the three in the midfield. The threat for Chiesa, Immobile and Insigne. With the subs, Serugu, Mere, Emerson, Acerbi, Bastoni, Toloi, Locatelli, Pessina, Berardi, Cristante, Bernardeschi and Bellotti as the Italians go forward. Chiesa shoots, but he's fallen into the ground as the ball comes across him. And in the end, it is gone well wide of Courtois' goal as the Italians are trying to quickly restore that 2-goal deficit that they had for around about 2 or 3 minutes of that latter part of the first half. It is Belgium 1, Italy 2. And a game you're listening to on the Commentary Hub's official YouTube page and JB Sports, our partner for these European Championships. The Italians have got a free kick on the left-hand side. Isn't seniors, they take it short. Now then goes on to his right foot, gives it to now Verratti. Here's Insigne again, in the box he goes, lays it off to Jorginho. That's a lovely check back to get away from De Bruyne. Now he does play it short to the left. Here's Insigne, not an opportunity to open up. He gets it from Verratti. He did take a little tumble as there was a Belgian foot coming in there. And immediately at the start of this second half, the Belgians know that Insigne is going to get it on his right foot. He's been deadly once. They don't want him to do it again. No, they don't. He's getting it here. There's little quick interchanges. The Italians are so fast, so quick. And I think that's what the Belgians have struggled at times in this game. And it's very much like it in the second half. They were doing it in the first half. And as I'm just sort of echoing the point, the second half, the Italians have been doing the same. It's a corner from the left-hand side. It's going to be eventually taken by Verratti. Bonucci attacks it. He did try and head it toward the other side of the post, the right-hand post. Tielemans just got in the way of it. It is taken quickly by the Italians. Insigne gets it short. Jorginho sells away from Torgan Hazard. Now Chiesa with the clip ball to the left-hand side of the box. Verratti jumps, but it's over his head and his marker, Yuri Tielemans, and it's gone out of play for a Belgian goal kick and a chance for Belgium to breathe, for me to breathe, because it's been a very hectic second half, to say the least. Courtois takes it short. The corner of the box to receive it short was Alderweireld. Defenders can now do that. Of course, the old rules used to state that the defenders had to be outside the 6-yard box, or their box, in fact, if the keeper took the kick, but Alderweireld and Vertonghen were both going short for that. And as John Kane alluded to, all the centre-backs for Belgium, the three, are in their 30s. Vertonghen, Alderweireld and Vermaelen. Can help but feel that maybe this will be their last European Championships, or even maybe so their last major tournament. Here is Insigne, as, of course, this tag that the Belgians have, the golden generation, still yet to really fulfill its promise of delivering silverware to the country's trophy cabinet. They've got so much talent. The closest they've come was the semi-finals of the World Cup 3 years ago. But at the moment, they're being out-thwarted by the Italians. The French did it to them in the semi-finals in St. Petersburg 3 years ago. And as I mentioned, the Azzurri and Roberto Mancini, a man who has transformed the Italians when they reached their lowest ebb nearly 4 years ago when they failed to qualify for the World Cup in Russia, has really led them onto a fantastic path and has actually set the record for the most matches unbeaten as Azzurri boss, overtaking Vittorio Pozzo, who of course was an instrumental figure in building Italian football all the way back in the 1930s and actually masterminding two World Cup triumphs. Here's Di Lorenzo, of course. He's walking on a tightrope for this second half and the remainder of this game, of course. He's on a yellow card that he received early on in the tournament. Should he get another one, he will miss the second, he will miss the semi-final. And of course, as well on bookings are Barella and Pessina, so they'll be hoping that they can keep their noses clean, albeit Pessina might not even come on, and Barella on the pitch will hope to do so as well. As Lukaku tries to play the ball to De Bruyne on the right-hand corner of the box, Jorginho steps in front of him, and there's a little shove in the back by De Bruyne, which the linesman Tomasz Klančnik spots from Slovenia, and it's a free kick to the Italians. As Jorginho just gets in front of him there, you know, the ball is not actually travelling all the way out, and if De Bruyne just sort of be a bit more subtle, a bit more clever there, maybe Jorginho would just, you know, have to try and play his way out there. And I don't know if he needed to put the arm in there. Referee incidentally, Slavko Vincic, Tomasz Klančnik and Andres Kovacic are the two assistants, all three from Slovenia. There's a fourth official from Argentina. We've got a host of countries representing the official team tonight. The VARs 1 and 2, and the main VAR are German. Bastian Dankert is the main VAR man. VAR 1 is Marco Fritz. Christian Gittelmann is the second VAR, and the third is Pavel Gil from Poland. So we have Argentina, Poland, Germany, and Slovenia representing the officials tonight. Here is Di Lorenzo as he gets it from Donnarumma's kick. Slides it into the midfield now with the goal scorer of the first, Barella. Now plays it to Chiesa. Low crossing with his right foot. Immobile attacked it, but it's completely missed by him as he tried to steer it goalwards, but he's put it out for a throw. He tried to attack it. Chiesa just put that ball in. He really just put it in quickly, didn't it? It was one of those blink and you miss the ball going in, and you know, you just saw Immobile just attack it, but he just missed it completely, and it's gone out for a throw. Meunier will take the throw. 7 minutes of the second half play. Belgium 1, Italy 2. Italy on their way to playing Spain in the semi-finals of the European Championships at Wembley. Of course, they've already been to Wembley in this tournament and won in extra time against Austria in the round of 16, remember. They'll be hoping to do the same again at Wembley on Tuesday night at the expense of Roberto Martinez and Belgium. Here is now Axel Witsel, and there's an interesting stat about Belgium, actually, that does make for interesting hearing. Since Roberto Martinez's first game in charge in September 2016, they've won more games and scored more goals than any other European nation. 47 wins they've won. 47 games they've won since Martinez took over, and 175 goals scored. Well, make that 176 now with the penalty from Romelu Lukaku. Here's Jeremy Doku, the man who won the penalty, beats Di Lorenzo, who of course made that foul but didn't get a booking in that first half. Here's Tielemans, a fourth goal in this, and an equaliser for Belgium would certainly make this a grandstand contest in terms of where the game could go. Meunier's challenged well by Insigne, who tracked back well there. Has been superb for the Italians tonight as Insigne make that for the whole tournament. The pundits, shall we say, at halftime, Barry Swain, John Kane, and of course presenter Russ Vernon were alluding to that about how good Insigne's been. Alderweireld gets it from the throw from Meunier. It went into his chest and he tried to just take things into his own hands, and he just took it on the chest and tried to flick it over his man in the box, but he's eventually overhit it out of play for a goal kick as Donnarumma gets it back from Chiellini. Of course, the Italians wore white when they beat the Belgians 5 years ago. History is repeating itself in terms of the same kit and the same outcome. Of course, they beat them in the group stages 5 years ago. What is different is, of course, they're playing for a place in the semi-final, so a bigger stakes contest. And, of course, both these sides are looking to go one better than what they did in the Euros in France in that time. Belgium was shockingly beat by Wales, in which was the last game under Marc Wilmots, a Belgian legend, before Martinez stepped in to become the manager of the team. And then the Italians, of course, were knocked out under Antonio Conte by the Germans on penalties in what was an absolutely absorbing contest as well. Here is Tielemans swiping in with the challenges Verratti, but Tielemans still keeps it on. Meunier with the high cross over the head of Lukaku. Di Lorenzo volleys it out in front of him for a Belgium corner. Yeah, the crosses haven't really happened a lot for Belgium. That was a rare sight for them to do. Meunier with a deep one from the right-hand corner of the box. It went into the middle. Lukaku knew straight away that he wasn't going to get anything on it. It went over his head. And he was just hoping maybe someone was at the back post, but unfortunately they weren't, and Di Lorenzo comfortably cleared it. De Bruyne goes short from the corner on the left-hand side, gives it to Jeremy Doku, who's shown flashes of quality. Gets it back from De Bruyne, away from Verratti, who slid in. Cross goes in low. Donnarumma can't get hold of it. He powers it away at first, and then has just about kept that in play. But Jeremy Doku skipped away from Verratti, who slid in there. Not really sure why Verratti did that. He put the cross in, looking for Lukaku, was down the middle with his left foot there, Doku, and then Donnarumma parried it, and then did eventually stop the ball going out for a corner kick, as the Italians have now brought it out. 10.5 minutes played. Belgium 1, Italy 2 on a game listening to on the Commentary Hub, the home of alternative commentary. Meunier with the sliding challenge to get there first ahead of Leonardo Spinazzola, but he's conceded a corner anyway, and he's kicked that a fair old leg as well. He must have kicked that about 10 yards as Thomas Meunier down that right-hand side. So bit of defending for the Belgians to do from this set piece. And it's been very much like the first half was. Both sides very much trying to go at each other and very much taking the game to one another. As Insigne goes over to take this corner, as he just puts some divot down onto the corner quadrant before he's going to put the ball in as they attack the Belgium end, the south side of the Fußball Arena in Munich. Ball goes in. Chiesa turns his back as it gets closer to him. And there's both sides shouting for the throw-in. And the official on that side, Andras Kovacic, has said that it is an Italian throw, which Di Lorenzo is going to take. Barella's in front of him. He's just now got away to his right. He does find Barella. Lets the ball travel in front of him. Then away from Tielemans. Now Chiesa. Now to Jorginho. Goes down under De Bruyne's challenge. It was certainly a challenge that saw De Bruyne clip Jorginho's heels in the penalty area. Slavko Vincic was very quick to say no penalty. Doku now trying to go away from Chiesa and Barella. Barella dived in, as did Chiesa. Chiesa didn't catch Doku. Barella did. And Barella is one of those players walking a tightrope for the Italians in terms of not being suspended for the semi-final. And then we saw Jorginho get fouled. Well, did get a clip in the penalty area. There was nothing done there by the referee. As the VAR check would certainly told him to have a check if they felt it was something wrong. Then Barella went in with a challenge on Doku and surprisingly escaped without a yellow card. The man who scored the Italians' first goal. And then, of course, Insigne scored that second goal, which Barry Swain did say at halftime was one of the goals of the tournament, one you can't disagree with. And then just a few minutes later, Romelu Lukaku scored a penalty following Di Lorenzo's foul on Jeremy Doku. And then on the turn is Immobile in the box. It's defended well by the Belgian centre-back Thomas Vermaelen, the oldest of the three. as John Kane did say as well. But here's Insigne, surely he's offside. He does go for goal. Yeah, the flag is eventually raised. He just got beyond the Belgian defence as Tomasz Klancznik puts his flag up. Yeah, clear offside. The Belgians played high. Insigne was caught out there as Belgium played quick up from the back. Vertonghen tries to play it to Doku, stepping in there into the midfield to cut it out was Di Lorenzo. Now the Italians have the ball. Now Verratti to Spinazzola. Verratti again. Insigne. Verratti again. Insigne. Jorginho. They have been at times just so crisp, so silky in their passing. The Italians. Now Immobile. Di Lorenzo. Through the middle now to Barella. Chiesa cannot keep it in. And it's gone out for a Belgium throw. And there's a bit of frustration there from Chiesa, whether or not it's with himself or that pass by Barella, which was a bit lazy and a bit laboured. Has seen the Belgians take the throw and have possession with Vertonghen. Tried to play it out to the left with Torgan Hazard, who's playing so high, hasn't been able to influence the game as much as he did on Sunday night. As Vertonghen gives it to Courtois, who just diverts it out of play for a throw. Remember, of course, 2 quarterfinals to come tomorrow. Denmark and Czech Republic in Baku is the first one at 5. Nicholas Jones is our man for that. And then John Kane, who you heard at halftime, is commentating on England versus Ukraine from that one at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome. As Immobile, who hasn't quite had the chances like Insigne or maybe Chiesa have had, still has put himself into the ground as the first quarter and hour of the second half has gone. So we're an hour in. Belgium 1, Italy 2. As it stands, Italy are playing Spain in the European Championship semi-finals at Wembley on Tuesday in the first of 2, remember. Of course, Spain had to win on penalties. They did it the hardest way possible to get to the last 4. Switzerland were down to 10 men for extra time and for the last part of the second half with Remo Freuler getting red carded. Michael Oliver was the ref for that. Doku slides it through to De Bruyne. Could be 2-2. He squares it. Lukaku has gone for it and it's gone off Spinazzola and out for a corner kick, and Lukaku just did not get enough of Italian contact on it. The Italian defence was literally cut to ribbons. Jeremy Doku, so bright, so inventive, slipped it through to De Bruyne, and Lukaku, who was at the back post on the right of De Bruyne, has just almost fallen into the turf as he's tried to hit the target, and he's just hit it against Spinazzola and then tried to hit it on the rebound, but it's gone beyond him. He made a bit of a mess of the finish. De Bruyne with the corner in there, beats everybody. Witsel and Alderweireld were beaten. Chiellini away in white for Italy. De Bruyne heads it back in to the middle, away by Jorginho, who's been impressive in the Italian midfield. Then Torgan Hazard charges down Chiesa's pass. Advantage played. The Italians are now cantering. Here is now Immobile. The touch lets him down, and Courtois comes out and gets the ball under control. It's just absorbing, isn't it? It's just literally from one end to the other in this game. This has been by far, for me, one of the best contests of these championships. I mean, obviously, we saw Croatia and Spain in Copenhagen play that absolutely superb match. Here's Insigne, runs into Toby Alderweireld. Couldn't produce the same magic that saw him score in the last 5 minutes of the first half. That saw Italy go 2-0 up, remember. Before that, Barella scored. And then on halftime, Romelu Lukaku scored following a controversial decision by Slavko Vincic to give a penalty, and one that I've seen a few times now, and I do actually think he got right. But of course, there is a very strong case to say that it was very soft. But of course, that is a matter that has been very much laid to rest. As Romelu Lukaku's already got one in this game, should have got another one, shouldn't he? Just sort of was leaning back. He was off balance when it came to Spinazzola, was getting adored by Chiellini and Bonucci, who just in the past years, decade plus, just made defending an art form, haven't they, for Juventus and for their international side. Is Verratti. Now to Barella in the middle of the pitch, around 20 yards out. Chiesa's made the run beyond it. Cross goes in. And there was a touch away. And it's Belgium who clear it away. It was Meunier that cleared it, only straight to. And Insigne gets around De Bruyne. He's looking really on it tonight as Lorenzo Insigne really has been the catalyst for the Italians tonight and everything they've sort of done going forward. Mobile to Barella, pokes it through to Jorginho. The Italians building again. Insigne now to Verratti. Here's Jorginho, Verratti again. Witzel has to come over. They've not quite done that enough. Tielemans and Witzel, where they've been forced to really come out and close things down. The Italians have played around them, made it work more often than not. Here is Jorginho. Now to Chiellini, who found himself in a real... Bonucci found himself in a real perilous position. Tried to wriggle away from two Belgian players and eventually wins a free kick. De Bruyne fouls him. I think he's very grateful for that foul, in fact, as he was on the stretch. He did get called, admittedly, and it's an Italian free kick as De Bruyne and Bonucci give each other a bit of a high five just to sort of say sorry, as Bonucci will run it off. He surely had more worse injuries than that, the Italian centre-back. Here is Insigne. Now to Bonucci. Di Lorenzo poor touch, but he got away with it as he just about managed to keep it away from Torgan Hazard. Barella tried to get it from Immobile, but De Bruyne is there to intercept, and how quickly the Italians, in losing it, do well to win it back in the middle of the pitch. Very well played, in fact, by the Italian midfield defence. 20 minutes of the second half gone. Belgium 1, Italy 2. On a game you're listening to on the commentary, I remember we're in partnership with JB Sports on YouTube, Mike Arneman's YouTube, and we're on the Periscope page on the commentary hub. And it's a ball that's gone through to Spinazzola through the middle of the Belgian defence. That would have sealed it there and there, but he's fluffed it and he's got it off target. He just ran with no Belgian player even aware of where he ran from and how he got there. And that is a lucky reprieve for Belgium. Big time. Well, it just comes through to Spinazzola, and he's got more time than he thinks. He's beaten the run. He's onside, and he just cannot hit the target. Canapafilli maybe would have rushed it. I think he probably maybe thinks in his mind he's offside. Dries Mertens just putting water over his face. He's about to come on as he stands in the technical area, waiting for the ball to next go out, you'd imagine, for this change to happen. If it was my guess, I'd probably say Doku's going to come off. The young man who shown tonight what he can do. He won that penalty for Belgium, but he might see his night over. Vermaelen can't get around Verratti as the Italians play high and just force Belgium back. Verratti is fouled. Free kick is given. The Italians, some players wanted the advantage played from that left-hand side. Insigne and Vermaelen both having words. Vermaelen just going over to Slavko Vincic just to say that he wants some caution or something to happen to Lorenzo Insigne to eventually settle their differences, and it will be an Italian free kick, and Vermaelen will just be able to go back into play. And there's also going to be another change. Nasser Chadli's going to come on as he receives instructions from Sean Maloney. Now Roberto Martinez all suited up, whereas Sean Maloney was in the Belgian tracksuit in a grey sort of jacket with black jogging bottoms on. It's going to be an Italian free kick. Insigne's going to take the one free kick he had in the first half, caused all sorts of problems. In from the left it goes. It's a high one all the way to the back post, looking for Barella. Away by Thomas Meunier. Chiesa with the cross into the back post. Immobile attacks it. He knocks it down. Does he? Yes, he does. But De Bruyne was on the edge of the box there waiting anyway. Now Belgium come away with it. He nutmegs Chiesa, but he cannot get away from Leonardo Spinazzola. What a fantastic bit of defending that was. As Italy now have it with Insigne. He's been someone they've just given the ball to even more in this second half. And surprisingly, even though he's seen a lot more of it and been involved in the thick of things, in terms of when the Italians have attacked in the sort of opening 22 minutes, he's still yet to have the same sort of impact as he did in the first half. And that's nothing against him, because he's been absolutely spectacular and absolutely superb tonight for the Azzurri. As Roberto Mancini's side are preserving their amazing unbeaten run in this tournament, and going into it, they are exactly 31 matches unbeaten are the Azzurri. Looking to make it 32, and as it stands, it will be 32. And of course, it's surpassed Vittorio Pozzo's run that he got in the early 1930s, and Insigne opens up and curls it, but Courtois saves. He powers it straight to his teammate Torgan Hazard, who plays it down the line to Doku. He's in a real tight situation, but he was fouled by Di Lorenzo, who's really had a testing night against Doku, but that chance for Insigne, he put so much whip on it. It's such a difficult one for a keeper to deal with because it goes high, then goes low just as it gets closer. And he was unlucky with that attempt, but it was well pushed away by Courtois. Tielemans off. I think that booking's done his night. I think that's the reason why he's gone off, the incentive. And on goes Nasser Chadli in his place. So we might see a real change in the formation. The man who, of course, used to play his players trade for West Brom and for Tottenham in the Premier League. Now with Istanbul Başakşehir has gone on in place of Thomas Meunier, and going on is Dries Mertens for Yuri Tielemans in the 69th minute. So Tielemans and Meunier off, on are Mertens and Nasser Chadli, who knows a thing or two about scoring decisive goals in major tournament knockout matches. First involvement for Dries Mertens of Napoli in Italy. Now to Chadli. The two subs combined. Chadli gets the shot away. Well, he actually crossed it in. It just touches off an Italian head. Lukaku was at the back post, but he just could not get the touch. Lukaku's made the runs, but he's just unable to just tuck it in. And the Italians get away with it there. Just about do enough. Here is now the ball in from the right-hand side. It's a deep one in there. And it was the ball in by, I think, by Torgan Hazard is one that has gone straight through to Donnarumma. But then Chadli has actually gone for goal. I think it's gone off Di Lorenzo. Lukaku went for the header for, and as he bounced off the back foot of Torgan Hazard and away from the goal, it was a real strange set of events that happened there. He's Immobile now coming from the left. It's a really good run from him to go into the middle, but his race was run as Witsel comes in to intercept. Now it's coming towards Belgium's likening, maybe. De Bruyne tries to play it through to Lukaku and go beyond the centre-back Chiellini, but it's cut out well by the Italian defence. Bit of a tiresome run there by Immobile. Maybe looks like he's starting to feel signs of fatigue as we're heading into the final 19 minutes. Belgium 1, Italy 2 is Jeremy Doku. Has he got enough pace to get around Di Lorenzo, who gets his body up and wins a free kick and gets a round of applause from his teammates? And Donnarumma says for calm, as there was a foul on the right-hand side. Yeah, really good play. Doku and Di Lorenzo has been a real fascinating one-on-one battle, isn't it? Doku had the better of him in the first half, but the second half, Di Lorenzo has, for me, just about done a little bit more in terms of that battle and who's won it. And you can sort of, see why I think Di Lorenzo has been smart. Doku's attacked him because he knows that he's on a booking, not just maybe, I think, obviously not in this game, but in the tournament. And, he's certainly just tried to test him as much as he can. Also, soon after coming on, Nasser Chadli's in some discomfort. And, of course, we have seen that already in the tournament. We saw Luca Dean for France against Portugal come on, and for 6 minutes or whatever it was, he was replaced by a French teammate of his in the last game in Budapest against Portugal. So Chadli is just receiving treatment now as the Italians, they're going to make some tactical tweaks. And just to sort of see the formation, you can see that there has been a few slight alterations. Torgan Hazard's gone at right wing back. Chadli is very familiar to playing this position with Belgium, and Roberto Martinez has gone to left wing back, and Dries Mertens has gone in as a central midfielder to go alongside Axel Witsel. So, yes, they're not in their natural positions, but it's positions very familiar to them, as Nasser Chadli is now just going off as Thierry Henry, part of the coaching staff for this tournament, after a spell with Montreal Impact, has got his arms folded on the touchline and thinking about the concern of Nasser Chadli. So the Italians are going to make a change it's going to be coming on for them will be 2 players, but there's been a change for Belgium. Chadley's gone off within just about 4 minutes of coming on, so he's replaced, and Dennis Pratt of Leicester has gone on for him. And so Chadley must be absolutely gutted. He came on hoping to change the fortunes for Belgium, but he's had the opposite effect and has in the end come off so soon after coming on. Marco Verratti is off. Booked, remember, in the game for that foul on Tielemans, that rather cynical sort of tug back when, of course, Belgium were threatening to counter in the first half, is replaced, and Brian Cristante comes on. All of his 5 appearances in the tournament so far have come from the bench, so that's someone very familiar with the term warming the bench, the man who plays his football for Roma. And Immobile's off. I said he looked tired, and that is the case. The call has been answered by Mancini, not from me, but I think there was many Italians maybe feeling that. And Andrea Bellotti is going to come on. The man who plays for Torino and has been linked with a move to several clubs in Europe as the Italian number 9. So Belgium have made a change. A sub has come off as a sub, in Chadley being replaced by Dennis Pratt, and Immobile and Bellotti have changed hands with each other, and Cristante's on for Marco Verratti. Final 15.5 minutes. Belgium 1, Italy 2, and has been since the end of the first half. Italy went in front with Nicolo Barella scoring a wonderful goal in which he kept the ball at his feet, got it in on his right foot, and from about 7-8 yards, fired it beyond Thibaut Courtois to give the Azzurri the lead. Then they doubled their lead with about a minute to go until the end of the first half, with Lorenzo Insigne scoring one of the goals of the tournament. And it was a goal that you will replay and replay hours on end. And then, of course, Belgium scored a penalty with Lukaku as he gives it to De Bruyne. Gets it back here, though. Lukaku turns and opens up. But there to step in is Jorginho. As the shot is just diffused and goes all the way through to Gianluigi Donnarumma. On a Game Minister on the Commentary Hub, the home of alternative commentary. We're on JB Sports on YouTube, our partner for these European Championships. Mike Harneman's YouTube we're also on. We're also on the Commentary Hub's official YouTube channel. And, of course, we're on Periscope as well. And, of course, earlier on today, Spain won on penalties against Switzerland in St. Petersburg. Switzerland valiantly battled to go all the way beyond 120 minutes and go to penalties. But, of course, they weren't able to beat the Spanish just like they could against the French on Monday night, and they are heading home with the Spanish being the first side through to the semi-finals. And it looks like Leonardo Spinazzola was pulled up here. He said he's got to come off. He was chasing down a ball down the left-hand side with Torgan Hazard, and the moment the ball sort of went out, Spinazzola sort of just put his fingers out to say he needs to come off. He sort of slipped and overstretched at the same time in the turf. It's meant that he's saying that he's got to come off. Cristante's gone over to sort of comfort him. He's now gone down. I think this might be a sign of cramp creeping in for Leonardo Spinazzola. And it gives me a chance to remind you of what the 2 other quarterfinals will be tomorrow as the Italian fans look on, with even some fans actually putting their hands across their mouths as they are worried for Leonardo Spinazzola, and not for the fact that it is such a serious injury, but the fact that he is such a key player for Roberto Mancini's team and has been one of not just the stars of this Italian team, but very much one of the stars of the tournament, and probably rightfully could have his place as they left back in there, but only time will tell. But back to what we have on tomorrow, the first of 2 quarterfinals, Denmark against Czech Republic in Baku. Nicholas Jones brings you that one as Kasper Hjulmann's side take on Yaroslav Shulhavi's Czech Republic in that one in the Azerbaijani capital. And then England play the final quarterfinal, 8 o'clock for that one. John Kane is the commentator for that, and he is bringing you that one with the game from Rome, and their opponents are Andrei Shevchenko's Ukraine. Spinazzola is still down. He looks visibly distraught. I think there's actually tears coming out from Spinazzola. So there's going to be 2 changes in that regard. Emerson of Chelsea is going to come on for him, and Federico Chiesa is going to come off. That's purely tactical. There's Domenico Berardi is going to come on in his place. Berardi, who played so well in the first 2 games, found himself out of the team in the third game, then came back in against Austria and then found himself back out of it. So he's going to come on now in place of Chiesa. Spinazzola's going to go off the pitch on a stretcher as the medical team on the side of the pitch have now been deployed to come on and carry him off. That is not a nice injury, muscle injuries, whether it's a pop, whether it's a tear or just a slight little niggle. You really do know when you feel it. So it will be actually Insigne who's going to go off, not Chiesa. So it will be Berardi who will go on, which is a surprise, I must admit. So Berardi on, Insigne is on. And there's a change as well at left back, which I told you about. Spinazzola is going to come off and Emerson will come on as Spinazzola will go off on the left-hand side of the pitch as the four medics take him with one of the Italian physios in a grey suit, just sort of alongside him, just trying to comfort him as Emerson comes on to slot in at left back. So the Italians have made 4 changes now. The Belgians have made 3 in this game. So Belgium have 2 subs left. Italy have 1. So Chiesa's now gone to the left-hand side. Berardi's gone to the right. As Insigne has gone off, but he can be very proud of the way he's played tonight. Play resumes, though, with Thomas Vermaelen. There's probably going to be an extra 2 minutes on top of the stoppage time, because it wasn't actually told how many was played at the end of the first half. It was just sort of played out because of the referee consulting with the VAR, Bastien Dankert, about whether or not it was a penalty for Jeremy Doku being fouled by Giovanni Di Lorenzo, which ultimately it was, and the decision stood. Here's Vermaelen on the ball. Out to the right with Toby Alderweireld. 10 minutes to go. Belgium 1, Italy 2. It's Italy on their way to Wembley for the second time in this tournament. And only this time in the semi-finals rather than the round of 16, where they will await Spain, a side they've played in 2008, 2012 and 2016. As Jeremy Doku cannot keep the ball in as he lifts his leg high to keep it in play on the left-hand side. And it's an Italy throw, which Di Lorenzo is going to take. They don't want any ill discipline. They know Di Lorenzo and Barella that they've got these yellow cards hanging over them. Pessina, of course, yet to come on, is also on a yellow card himself. None of the Belgian players who were on yellow cards have received it themselves yet. As the ball from Cristante has gone to Emerson. Cristante gets it back. Torgan Hazard went in, but Cristante, I don't think, wanted the 50-50 of the confrontation, so just tried to flick it against him, and it's actually gone Belgium's way, in fact. Not the best of decisions by Cristante. Belgium have it in their own half. Now Witsel out to the right with Torgan Hazard. Now with Dries Mertens. Torgan Hazard gets it back. How they would love to get Eden on the pitch. Man missing tonight due to injury that he picked up against Portugal in the round of 16. Torgan Hazard comes in to just try and... Dries Mertens tries to come in and win it off Emerson, but he fouls the Chelsea left back and wins a free kick. Yeah, he just catches the side of his left leg, doesn't he? Just clips his shin. It's enough for a free kick. Well, at the Fußball Arena in Munich, of course, we saw Germany lose against the French. We saw them then beat Portugal 4-2. We saw them then draw 2-2 with Hungary in what was a thrilling game, which saw a late goal within the last 10 minutes. Will we see a late goal here at the home of Bayern Munich? As Torgan Hazard will now go and take the throw, a man who plays his football in Germany for their arch rivals Borussia Dortmund, who, of course, were dealt a blow this week that they got rid of Jadon Sancho as he's gone to Manchester United. The throw in by Hazard has gone to Cristante, who clears it straight against Kevin De Bruyne, but it's gone now back with the Italian defence. Played forward by Emerson. Now, here is Torgan Hazard to Witsel. Lukaku will head it on. Witsel's been set free down the right. De Bruyne and Doku with the 2 men alongside him. Witsel gets the cross in, but it's blocked by Leonardo Bonucci. And it is a Belgium throw on the right-hand side, and how vital a block that was. Yeah, Witsel knew that was going to get that ball in. It was going to go beyond his man and to go beyond the Italian defence, but Bonucci came out, dealt with the cross. Emerson was out of position. Really smart defensive play. Is out of Ireld. Now to Dennis Pratt. Came on in place of Nasser Chadli. Hasn't really yet been involved in the game. Could that change in the next few minutes? Out of Eireld to Vertonghen. Now to Doku, who stayed on. This is good play to go on the inside. Now on his right foot, Doku. He's away from Cristante. Doku shoots, but it's too high and over the bar. Well, he has really been a breath of fresh air for Belgium. Jeremy Doku, his biggest game of his international career. He won the penalty and nearly scored a wonderful goal and tried to recreate Insigne's moment in the first half down the same end, but he was unsuccessful. Yeah, he beats 3 players and then finally gets the shot away. That's the perfect time to do it, but you know, there was a lot of hype about him before the game. This is the first proper time I've actually managed to see him, and I'm quite impressed with what I've seen of him, to be fair. Yeah, he's a young player, came through the Anderlecht Academy, went to Stade Rennes in France for big bucks, and has done well there in his short time in France and at Roajon Park. As Emerson has been sent sort of halfway in the air as Torgan Hazard just left an arm on him. As the Belgian fans look on, biting their nails, the Italians are doing the same. Really is nervy times. You can almost cut the tension with a knife, but the fans being back inside these stadiums, whatever the capacity in these European Championships, has really just made games for the viewers at home even more spectacular as Witsel is fouled by Brian Cristante. Belgium take it short, though. They've had some moments since they were in this second half, but as of yet, they've been shut out. Lukaku's gone close twice. Of course, not really been able to make enough of a contact on that cross by Chadli that saw the ball go on through to him via an Italian foot. And one that he just made a bit of a hash of in finishing, throwing down the left, which Pratt takes. The Italians are very much now defensive. The Italians of old, the Catenaccio and the style that won under Marcello Lippi, the World Cup 15 years ago. It's what the Italians are so famous for. They're now pretty much doing it here. 5 minutes to go. Belgium 1, Italy 2. The winners of this play Spain on Tuesday night in the first semi-final at Wembley. Here's Witsel. It looks like Belgium are crashing out in the quarterfinals for the second tournament in a row. But they've got to try and change it now. Out of Ireland, out to the right. Here is now Torgan Hazard. The Italians are being tested here. Hazard tries to slide it through to Mertens. It's gone off an Italian player. Mertens does cross it in. Lukaku was the target, away by Di Lorenzo in the middle of the area. And the Italians have made some ground. But it's a fight out by Vermaelen. Now to Witsel. Here's Doku. Spins away from Belotti. Good feet shown by Doku, who just sort of slipped into the ground, but Jorginho was there to win it off him anyway. Of course, he could have even fouled Doku, but that wasn't the case. And then Berardi wins a free kick for the Italians as he's fouled in the middle of the pitch by Dennis Pratt. Well, Mancini will now want calm. He'll want his players to see the job through. It isn't about now just trying to get that third goal. It's one that they just don't want to see themselves get done on the break from and allow the Belgians back into it. It's a different type of Italian final sort of few minutes of a game that we've not seen before, really, you could say. Especially, well, in normal time anyway. They had to do it against Austria, who made it really nervous for them at Wembley. But this is different to Austria and Franco Foda's side. This is Belgium's side, who still have De Bruyne, Lukaku, and the energetic and very fast Jeremy Doku on the pitch. Hazard takes a tumble on the right-hand side. Chiesa fouls him. Free kick Belgium, who are not going to be in any mood to take their time over this. They're going to want to try and send it or play it as quickly as they can, which they've done. Courtois in his own area now has the ball at his feet. Plays it short to his right with Toby out of Eireld. Here is now Axel Witsel. Vermaelen receives it from Vertonghen. Out of Eireld again. Doku's in space on the left-hand side. Lukaku is the target in the middle. He's gone quiet in this second half as it's worn on as Romelu Lukaku. Added a goal to his collection. 4 for him in this tournament. 10 in major tournaments for Belgium. But he wanted a decisive 11th goal and a 5th one in this tournament to go joint level with Ronaldo to keep Belgium's hopes alive and take it into extra time. Here's Lukaku. Takes the ball under his chest nicely. Bonucci just clears it straight to Jeremy Doku. Now to De Bruyne. His pass through the middle is cut out by Jorginho. It's been absolutely superb for Italy in the midfield as the Chelsea man. Really has developed his game since Thomas Tuchel came in and has shown a different side to his game when he first arrived at Chelsea under Sarri and Frank Lampard. Witsel gets away from Belotti. Referee says play on. They both were given it as good as they got. Belotti stayed down. He is holding his face, but the Belgians play on under the referee's guidance. Zoku now to De Bruyne, crosses in through the middle. Not the best delivery. Chiellini away though. And then Berardi fouls. De Bruyne, free kick to Belgium in 90 seconds left to play. It still remains at 2-1, but Belgium are going to just push and push, as the free kick won't be taken immediately due to Belotti still staying on the ground. Well, Berardi sticks a foot out. I think De Bruyne has gone looking for that a little bit, but Witsel and Belotti were both having a bit of afters. I mean, Witsel has got his body in front of him and he's just swung an arm. It's certainly not intentional by Axel Witsel. He's a very physical player. He's the Belgian number 6, and he just tries to fend off Belotti and catches him, and Belotti tries to win a free kick, but his protestations got him nowhere. Free kick to Belgium, around about sort of 20, 22 yards out. De Bruyne's going to take it. It's rather central. Big moment in the game. The Italians have got a higher line right on the edge of the box. The Belgians camp there. It's important they time their runs. It's important as well. De Bruyne puts a good ball in. De Bruyne actually goes for it. Did Berardi step forward before De Bruyne's took it? Slavko Vincic did, and that is a yellow card. Berardi knows exactly what he's doing. I think that was a good spot by the referee there. De Bruyne has actually just pushed him to tell him to get back. Well, it's very clear and obvious, isn't it, what he did? Slavko Vincic actually didn't actually have the actual footage or actual sort of live eyes to see that. Kind of had to go on the word of De Bruyne there. But he'll be certainly noticing it now, as he's noticing a bit of maybe pushing and shoving in there, as Rafael Toloi, the Brazilian-born defender, is going to come on. 5 added minutes from the 4th official, Fernando Rapalini. And Federico Chiesa is gone off. So I think the Italians have now got to go with this 5 at the back system. So Chiesa goes off. Another good night for him in the Italian shirt, albeit the away shirt of the Italians. And Toloi comes on for Italy. Only made a handful of caps. And of course, the Italians continuing the trend of getting players born outside Italy to play for the Azzurri. It's going to be De Bruyne to take this free kick. He's going to get a second attempt at this. He clips it in. It's a high one. Witsel attacks. Donnarumma came out. And then there is a foul on Donnarumma. Witsel went for it. Went into the side of Donnarumma. Free kick given. Dries Mertens is under the impression that Witsel has to compete for it. De Bruyne's cross was stood up. It was full throttle between Donnarumma and Witsel. Chiellini went up for it. Witsel's he's tried to just guide it goalwards off the back of his head. It's just clattered into the front of Donnarumma, who stayed down. We're now a minute and 30 seconds into stoppage time. The Italians almost there, as you can see. The fans waving their flags inside the Fußball Arena in Munich, or it's as well known, the Allianz Arena on the club circuit. Remember, 2 more games to bring you tomorrow. Denmark, Czech Republic is first at 5 in Baku. Then England in action again. Can they follow up the Germany win by beating Ukraine and reaching the last 4 of the European Championships since 1996 on English soil? And of course, being the semi-finals again, 25 years later, at the National Stadium and at the home of football. Donnarumma's still down. Precious time that he's got to waste. I think Chiellini actually may have sort of come off worse as Witsel went up with an elbow. Chiellini's just a rock of a man, doesn't even feel anything, does he? But Donnarumma certainly did, as sort of just in the sort of high rib area that Witsel caught him with his right arm, sort of down the middle of the pitch where they were catching it, or trying to catch it, as Donnarumma anyway. But it might just be another tournament where the Belgians come unstuck. They've tried 4 times. They've tried 3 times since 2012 to emulate that. The quarterfinals in 2014 and 2016. in the World Cup and the Euros respectively, saw them fall short. They were semi-finalists 3 years ago, and they're going to be falling at the quarter-final stage again, it looks like, as down on the ground is Di Lorenzo, and it's Barella on the ground as he gets back up. Vertonghen with the foul, and the Italians will just want free kicks to come their way, as it is Di Lorenzo still on the ground, in fact. I was right the first time, so I do apologise for that. Doku and Di Lorenzo both went for it. Doku went into the side of Di Lorenzo, certainly nothing physical. And Di Lorenzo did sort of make the most of that as well, I think, in the middle of the pitch. The free kick doesn't go anywhere for the Italians. Instead, they've given it away for a shirt pull on Jeremy Doku. Taken short by Vertonghen to Thomas Vermaelen. The Belgians have got to get it up the pitch first and foremost. De Bruyne with the high ball looking for Lukaku, but it's going to go all the way through to Donnarumma. And there's those cheers from those Italian fans. Donnarumma knows they're nearly there. They're closing in on the semi-finals. Belgium 1, Italy 2. We are now 50 seconds away. Roberto Martinez looks on. Remember, his side have won more matches of any European nation since September 2016. 47 in total. It won't be 48 for them if they are to lose tonight, as the Italians are going to keep up their amazing unbeaten run and make it 32 matches unbeaten. And of course, make it an amazing run of successive wins. Vertonghen clipped by Belotti. Free kick given. Now or never for Belgium. Last attack this will be. Up they go. They've just not really taken enough risks, have they, to get their way back in the game. Ball goes up towards Lukaku over his head. Chiellini away. Seconds tick by. Witsel heads it to Torgan Hazard. The ball has got to go. It does, but it's gone off Cristante. That'll do for the Italians. Eden Hazard looking on. How he would have loved to have had a say in this game. He's not available tonight due to injury, remember, that he picked up against Portugal. High by Torgan Hazard. Dries Mertens will never outjump Chiellini. Pratt with a header on. Then Jorginho heads it into the air. Then Cristante gives it to Chiellini, who just thumps it away. The Italians want that whistle to go. The only man up there's Berardi. The touch is one that goes off his foot. Slavko Vincic gives a Belgium throw. We're into the 96th minute. Still, it is 2-1 to the Italians. Here's De Bruyne. Out to the right-hand side it goes. Torgan Hazard. Out of Ireland. The Belgians not tested the Italians enough in this second half. Witsel. Out to the left now with Doku. It's got enough to stay in. Doku will take on Di Lorenzo again. Just about has the beating of him. Now he gives it to Alderweireld, who stayed up there. On the overlap is Hazard. He crosses in. It's headed out by Chiellini. It's gone for a corner. Belgium will get a chance to put this in from the right-hand side. This is it. As the Azzurri fans behind the goal, the Belgium are attacking in, are hoping that the team in white can defend it. Courtois even gone up. In it goes. Attacking it is Vermaelen. Donnarumma leaves it. And it's gone for a goal kick. Donnarumma celebrates. The Italians know that they have done it. Surely now. It's been a nervous wait. Giorgio Chiellini just telling the troops to get organised as they just want to remain calm for the final few minutes. But there it is! Italy are on their way to the last four of the European Championships. The first half lead was enough to set them through. Belgium tried to make it nervy, but they haven't done enough. And for the second successive tournament, Belgium fall at the quarter-final stage. But the Italians, who weren't even at the World Cup 3 years ago, will be heading to the home of football to play Spain in the Euro 2020 semi-finals on Tuesday night. They've been to Wembley before this tournament and won. Can they do it again? Nicolo Barella's goal in the 31st minute put Roberto Mancini's side in front. And then they were 2-0 up thanks to a quite wonderful piece of individual brilliance by Lorenzo Insigne. And then into the second minute of stoppage time, Romelu Lukaku scored following a Jeremy Doku foul by Giovanni Di Lorenzo in the box. The Belgian fans cry, some of them inside the Fußball Arena in Munich. But it's not enough for the Red Devils as the Italians are through to the semi-finals of the European Championships. Forget the Roman Empire. The Mancini Empire is gathering pace. Belgium 1, Italy 2.
Thank you very much, Matt, for great coverage once again on the Euros match that you've done throughout the tournament. Great coverage, and you've got one more to come for his match. But Matt, the all important question now, my friend, you know what's coming. Man of the match, please.
Well, I think I have to give it to Lorenzo Insigne. I thought he was absolutely magnificent. I think Italy used him as the go-to man to, try and get them to push forward and, help him in the attacks. And I thought he was superb tonight. He came off, which was a bit of a surprise at the time. But I think looking back, it was a good move by Mancini to be a little bit more defensive and be a bit more, well guarded and not allow Belgium even more opportunity to score. Fantastic, superb goal he took. He was inventive, he was energetic all night, and he was absolutely superb for me and fully deserving of the man of the match.
Yes, great call there for man of the match. I would probably have to agree with you there with Lorenzo Insigne for my man of the match. We'll just fetch in one of our pundits from the half-time break, and John Kane. And John, what did you make of that second half? And would Insigne be your man of the match as well, my friend?
Absolutely, I agree with Matt. He's been superb in today's game. In fact, he's been superb throughout the whole tournament. Everyone said that maybe Italians' group wasn't that good, hence why they won all their 3 matches. But they kept going on and on. I know they struggled against the Austrians a bit, but today they proved they're actually a very, very, very good team. To beat the Belgians the way they did today, they've been fantastic. And Insigne has definitely been one of the stars of the tournament at the moment. And as well, as I agree with Matt, he was the star today as well.
Yes, and we've also got our very good friend and fellow colleague at the commentary hub, Mike Orneman, with us as well. And Mike, Insigne man of the match from Matt. Backed up by John, backed up by me. Would it be backed up by you as well, my friend?
I'm going to throw a different name into the mix here. I thought Barella had a very, very good game as well. As much as Insigne, got the goal that turned out to be the winning goal in the end, I think Barella would be the man that I'd go with for my man of the match if I was to choose one.
Yes, and well, Matt, obviously you've just heard Mike say Barella there. What was your thoughts on Barella tonight?
Yeah, I thought he put a really good shift in. I think, the Italian midfield have got to work so hard in their team because, the way they play with so much energy, so much intensity, both boxes, they've got to be tip-top. They've got to be in fantastic condition. They've got to make the effect. I thought they were outstanding tonight. They're just so in tune with each other. This whole Italian team, I saw some tweets at halftime and I think they're absolutely spot on. It's the only side you see in this tournament. They're very much really what the coach wants. In terms of, it feels like what Mancini really tells those players really comes across in the way they play. I think they're just a brilliant side to watch. It wasn't what they were like against Turkey or Switzerland, but, Barry Swain said at halftime, this is a real test for them now. And yes, Belgium did test them at times in the game, but they were still good. They still had the energy right to the very end, and that is what is making this side stand out. And I think for me, it's going to have to take a serious good performance from either Czech Republic, Denmark, England, or Ukraine to beat this Italian side who I think looks so destined for the final in 9 days' time. But yeah, Barella was absolutely superb, as was the rest of the midfield. I thought Jorginho was the real standout for me. I mentioned on commentary his defensive players just improved a heck of a lot in just a short space of time since Thomas Tuchel arrived at Chelsea. He's been absolutely phenomenal. He's been a bit more, aggressive, a bit more courageous, and a bit more of a man mountain in there when a lot of people just thought he was in the team just to pass the ball sideways or play it forward. But, Barella was superb, as was that whole Italian midfield tonight. Absolutely superb performance.
Yes, and we'll get your thoughts on the Italian performance at half time, John. What did you make to their performance in the second half? Because for me, they just played a very controlled game second half, and Belgium did have the chances, but for me, Italy put the bodies on the line and defended really, really well. The best chance for me Belgium had was that one when Lukaku got played the ball across from De Bruyne, and he somehow hit it against Spinazzola and then pulled the ball wide, and that really should have been 2-2 at that point, in my opinion. What did you make to the Italian defensive performance in the second half, John?
I think the whole team played really, really well, and defensively they were absolutely spot on. Well, I still think the penalty it was probably the only thing that I think the Italians made a mistake, which it was a very silly push, shall we say, by Di Lorenzo. But apart of that, they've been absolutely spot on in everything they dealt with and everything that came on them from the Belgium side. And the Belgium they did try, but however, I thought like until the Italians scored the first goal, you would have thought both sides can actually get in there and take the lead. But as soon as that goal went in, the Belgians didn't have that much control of the midfield afterwards. It seems like they've lost a bit of concentration, but it's not the Italians' fault, it's the Belgians' fault. And the Italians dominated on that and they took advantage of it and they carried on where they left off in the second half. And it has been a superb performance. And like I said before, and before the tournament started, when we had our chat, and I said, like, you need to have a very good defense to win. And the Belgians, as much like you look at the names in the back and you say, oh, Alderweireld and Vertonghen and Van Marlen, they're fantastic defenders. But at the end of the day, we're talking about 32, 34 and 35-year-olds playing against players like Insigne, for example, and his solo goal was fantastic and I would not take anything off him. But if there was a bit of more defenders who probably got a bit of an extra pace, I think that would have made a bit of difference or might even put off Insigne a bit. And I think the Belgians, this is going to be I think definitely we'll see the end of the three defenders playing for Belgium again after this tournament and definitely after this game. But it's not the Italians' fault. Well done for Italy.
Yes, and a question now, so I'm going to put all three of you on the panel tonight, Matt, John and to Mike, and I'll go to Mike first on this. Roberto Martinez, the Belgian manager, has been reported that he'll be looking to get back into club football at the end of the tournament, whenever that were for Belgium. Obviously, it's come tonight. Do you think he will go back into club management now, Mike, or do you think he will give one last crack, potentially at the next World Cup with Belgium?
I think considering it's only next year, I think he'll see out and still be with Belgium for next year, in my opinion. But just it'd be interesting to see what he does, whether he does take on a club or whether he stays with Belgium. But for me, I think he'll do the latter and he'll stay with Belgium for at very least the next World Cup and then go from there.
Yes, and John, would you agree with Mike? He'll stay with Belgium for the next World Cup should Belgium qualify, or do you think he'll pack the Belgian job in from it after this defeat tonight?
I think he'll keep his job. I think what Mike said is only a year. Normally it's 2 years, but because of the pandemic, it's only going to be a year difference between this Euros and the next World Cup. So it's no harm done for him to actually stay for another year and try to carry on. But I think he's going to have such a big task because there's some aging players there. And I think he realised now that he can't carry on with half the team that he's got at the moment. So he needs to go fishing, basically, and trying to find and use his scout properly and trying to get better players who are a bit younger, especially in that defence. Because if you stick with that defence, seeing a 36 and 35-year-old defenders sitting there in the back defending against the Brazilians, it's not really going to be a good thing at all.
No, it's not. And Matt, where's next now, in your opinion? Is it for Roberto Martinez? Well, like John and Mike says, will he stay for the extra year and will go on to the next World Cup, or do you think he will say that's it, retirement of the international stage with Belgium is over now?
I think the two good points have actually been raised. I think with Martinez, I think he's actually done an okay job with Belgium, but you do have to say, given what is talked about them, you have to kind of say they've maybe slightly underachieved, given the fact that, they've had 2 tournaments now under him, the semi-finals, again in Russia, in the World Cup, 3rd place. You'd have to say they came into it in better shape, I think, for me. It's still pretty much the same sort of side. But I think with Belgium, yes, it is a talented squad. You've still got De Bruyne, you've got, Lukaku, you've still got Eden Hazard, who on his day is a top player. And I think the age is a bit of an issue for them now. I think, John's rightly alluded to it. You've got the defenders tonight. They're in their 30s. Alderweireld, Vertonghen, and Thomas Vermaelen. You've got Vermaelen 35, I think it is. Alderweireld 32. Vertonghen 34, so it does kind of tell you something. So, if they could get a few younger players in through the door, then, who knows? I think there is obviously another crop coming through. You've got Albert Lokonga, who's been linked with Arsenal from Anderlecht, who's a name. Alexis Saele-Marcus, who plays for Milan at 22. He's had 1 cap. You've got the likes as well of sort of Yari Vasharan, sort of Dodi, Lukebakio, they've sort of had appearances on the fringes of the squad. You saw Doku tonight, who really impressed me, probably a few other people at home as well. So if they could get a few younger players in, Lukaku, De Bruyne, Courtois, they're still going to be in the squad, you'd think, for the next World Cup, which is in 18 months' time. So I think Martinez will still be there. But, I think he's got to probably draw the line where he's got to say, if I can't win this next tournament, I think maybe it's just probably out of our reach.
Yes, absolutely. Well, just before we do wrap up, I just want to touch on the game a little bit for around about a minute or so. So, Mike, what do you want to say about the game, my friend? And then we'll end after this.
I just thought, just going to what John said earlier about the Italians' defence, I thought they defended resolutely, really. They were fantastic. If you look at Spinazzola, you look at Chiellini as well. They 2 players there that really stood out defensively for me. I thought Insigne's goal was fantastic. If you look at that, the more you see that goal, the more you think it's going to be up there for certainly, a contender for goal of the tournament. And I just think, if you look at this Italian side, of course, they're 32 unbeaten, as Matt rightly alluded to as well. They're certainly a nation to be scared of and to be wary of at the moment for, the Spanish in the semi-final and for anyone that gets past, and later on in the competition as well, and whoever it is that might face them in the final. So certainly impressive Italy this tournament. And, of course, I covered Spain earlier as well, and I thought they were a little bit fortunate, really, in getting through the penalty shootout. But that's another great challenge for Italy. And as Barry mentioned earlier, they've shown today that they can overcome a big challenge in Belgium. Let's see if they can do it again against the Spanish on Tuesday night.
Yes, and that game will obviously be brought to us on the commentary hub by the very talented Matt Tiles, who did another fantastic job. I just want to echo what Barry said. Matt, superb job as always tonight, my friend, and you always put in a sterling job on the commentary. So once again, well done to you, Matt, tonight.
Thank you very much, Rusk. Thank you for kind words from all the comments that people have made as well. So yeah, do massively appreciate it, and very, very thankful and very, very grateful.
Yes, and Atiola was in. I think he's all the way in Australia because he's in Australia. It was almost 5 o'clock when he tuned in at the start of the programme, and he put in, just ending with this, great job, guys. He loved the comment, loved the call, loved the broadcast, so thank you very much. And stay tuned. We'll have more great coverage for you throughout the rest of the tournament. So, and hope you have a good day, Adjatola. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. And Tony as well. He was in, he said, Forza Italia, great commentary as well. Thank you very much, my friend. And we'll all, myself, Matt, John, Mike, and the rest of the team will see you again very soon. We're back tomorrow with 2 great matches. Czech Republic against Denmark and Ukraine against England. Come on, England!